Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 450. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, next to Johnny V again.
Sure. That's what you say. That's what you want.
Want is a strong word.
Want, Terry. Yeah. I didn't find this out. I reaffirmed it in the last 2 days, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
People have strong opinions on putters.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I made a post on Facebook and on Twitter just saying, hey, I got my basket out and I'm looking for new putters. I've got a handful of just random putters in there, a couple old soft magnets. I think I've got like an Envy in there, maybe some AVR, some really old glow AVRs, blah, blah, blah.
I got some Judges too, probably?
No.
At one point?
No, I do not. I have one Judge in my actual bag that I keep with me. And that's a throwing putter for me. It's a little, for my tastes, it's a little too overstable. I like a slightly stiff, not super slick, beadless putter. I've always liked the magnet. I'm currently putting with Deputies because many years ago, Dee kindly shipped me out 5 burst Deputies because I said I was looking for something to replace kind of a slightly beat magnet, and I've loved them. But I'm kind of ready to
miss with something else.
To miss with something else, Terry. I want to embarrass a different company with my putting.
What are you missing with today? Well,
let me tell you what I'm missing with. And so I made a post out there saying I'm going to look for some putters, and just threw it out there.
That's right there.
I know.
Asking for what's your favorite color and what's your favorite thing to get in a player pack.
Oh no, it's worse than your favorite color, because a favorite color I understand. But in general, a lot of people are throwing things out there at me, obviously, and I did make a small order of Pures and the Stone Steady BLs.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try those, and then if it's nice out, I might come down to the tournament you're running this weekend and fondle some putters and see what feels good in the hand.
Yeah,
because I figure if it feels good in the hand,
they'll hold any line too.
But it feels good in the hand.
Good for amateurs, good for professionals. That's what you need. They're good in wet conditions and dry conditions. Headwinds, tailwinds, crosswinds. Yeah, they'll hold up. I've got what you need. Just come down and do some shopping.
I bet you do. I bet you do, Terry Miller. If the weather's nice, I'll come down and fondle some of your putters. But
and if it's not, you'll come down and fondle some of my putters.
I mean, if the offer is there. So I'm going to give those a try. I figure if the best putter in the world, Andrew Marweed, uses them.
Yeah. It's definitely the putter, because he was the best putter in the world. When he was putting with Innova putters.
I don't know if he was.
Yeah, I think he's got a title.
Statistically, I'm not sure.
The best putter in the world.
I think it was Matt Bell. And then, you know what? And then Andrew Marweed shows up and he gets... So I'm just saying, if they work for him, I'm going to give him a shot.
Yeah, it's definitely
the putter.
Definitely the putter.
It's not the years of practice.
Nope.
The talent, the skill.
Yeah, the raw. It's definitely the putter, which is funny, and I think I want to say it's maybe a more recent Discraft commercial. I think if both Paige and Missy Gannon both kind of talk about how what discs that they're using, and then how they
always fall back on the stock plastic.
And then I think, well, is that because they're consistent, or is that because those were different? And then I don't know, some of the commercials out there, and this is
can be interpreted multiple ways.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of different commercials, and then we know with Lone Star,
are they consistently consistent?
It's the quality.
Are they quality of the quality? I don't know.
It is the quality, and Lone Star, as many of you have seen for their commercials this last weekend, as they were graciously our presenting sponsor, of course, of the tournament, which we're going to be talking about tonight. In fact, we're going to have that Chase Card champion, Simon Lizotte. He is just getting done with Dart League. He gave me an update just a little while ago. He is on his way home from Dart League. Would you say he's going to dart home? And
I wouldn't say that.
No, either would I, because that would be such a terrible pun. And so he's going to be joining us in just a little while. I told him, take his time. If there's one thing we can do, we can fill time. So he's going to join us tonight. We're going to talk, of course, about this weekend's event, the Music City Open, which I'm going to pat myself on the back for a moment. Not once did I call the Mad City Open, because Johnny V and I,
Congratulations.
for the last 30 years, almost a full 30 years, have been at least in the neighborhood of the Mad City Open, taking place in Madison, Wisconsin, very much referred to MCO. So to have an event this weekend in which I was working in some media capacity, I'm just going to tell you, it almost slipped for sure once, but I do not think at any point I actually referred to it as the Mad City Open. So if there's one little win I can take away, that would definitely be it. Of course, we saw some sweet action on the FPO side. In fact, Johnny, let's just jump right into recapping what we saw on the FPO side, and then we'll catch up with Simon when he joins us here in a little bit.
No surprise, Kristen Tatar wins. She wins by 5 strokes over Jen Allen and Macy Veladiaz. Kristen was just solid all weekend. I think she had 2,000 rated rounds, 1,010 maybe even if I went and actually did the research and looked. And bested the field. There's no one could really keep up with her. They're going to that final round. It was, I don't want to say it was a done deal, because I think she only went in with a 2 or 3 stroke lead.
Or deficit, actually.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she was not leading.
I think she was
Holland
tied.
Hanley was leading.
Oh, that's right.
I promise you.
Oh, yeah. Holland Hanley was leading because she had a shot at awkward. But Kristen Tatar just very consistently walked away with this event. Starting at the very beginning, she started out with 4 pars that final round, 3 birdies, and at that point, Holland had kind of had a problem. She ran into hole 5. I mean, 2 and 3 she bogeyed, but then she ran into 5 where she tried some kind of maybe not the best move with a scoober. I hate, you know what? Just in general, I hate calling it a scoober. I like the term pancake.
Okay.
Just in general. So there's that, because that's what we always grew up and called it.
Mm-hmm.
But
French toast. Yep.
Yummy. But anyway, so after Holland kind of hit hole 5, it was lights out for her. Rebecca Cox shot a really nice round. She was in 4th place. Holland had ended up dropping down to 5th. Evelina Salonen has a solid weekend. Decent putting, nothing to write home about. I don't think she's picking up postcards from Nashville and signing them and sending them home yet with with their putting stats, but overall, really good off the tee and a solid 60 to 70% putting.
I'm gonna guess before you even look it up for certain. She almost always is one of the top contenders for leading from tee to green.
Yes.
And at one point she was this weekend, so she probably finished there as well. So we all know tee to green has clearly not been her problem. She almost always is a contender in leading that category. It's just getting it done once she gets closer to the basket. We see in the final round she was 64% in C1X putting. Didn't have any Circle 2 connections. I don't know if you can click on her overall profile and we can drill down a little bit more. But the tee to green, like we said, is almost always where she's leading in the strokes gained. She only had 5 OB strokes on the weekend.
16.89 strokes gained tee to green.
Yeah.
She lost about 7 strokes putting to the field. But that's not bad for what she's been putting up lately.
Yeah, the problem is, though, you look at, she still ended up being, even though her putting was better, she was still 48th in putting out of 50-something, 50-something competitors. Yeah. Clearly, her tee to green is what is keeping her there in contention.
Yeah.
She was 53% from C1X, and that put her in 43rd in that category. So it's the tale of two
stats.
Yeah, the fact that she's leading, she's
leading
dominating.
in Circle 1 regulation, and she's leading in Circle 2 in regulation. I get all that, but this is better. This is an improvement.
Certainly.
So we're going to look at the positive for Evelina.
Of course,
we're not here to harp on her. I think she's
well aware of her putting woes. You guys do not need to post about it.
Correct. She is making an effort, which is great. So ultimately, congratulations, Evelina, on getting into that top 10, which she hasn't really done recently. And so maybe she can keep it. Maybe this is a good springboard into Blue Ridge, which is this weekend, and then the Champions Cup. Because I'll tell you what. I truly believe at Champions Cup, and I don't want to get into a whole preview show on this, putting is going to be less important at Champions Cup in the grand scheme of things because the course is so wooded and long. Getting to the green is going to be slightly more important than putting. You still need to put the putt in. 3-putting isn't going to help anybody, but if you can eliminate one of your weaknesses, it only helps you. Outside of Evelina, we go 7th place. That's Missy Gannon. 8th place, Heidi Lane, tied with Sarah Gilpin. Sarah Gilpin's a name we haven't really talked about this year at all. I don't know if she's really been anywhere.
Well, we saw her, the Sarah Gilpin, after round number 1. She had a very, very consistent round number 1.
Yep.
And in doing so, that put her on the lead card for round 2. And obviously brought her into the conversation because the last time we saw her, I believe the last 2 times we saw her were as a featured player at the Des Moines Challenge last year. And then also what even more so stuck out for me was seeing her at the 2021 Worlds in Utah.
Oh, sure.
And,
but I'm talking this year in general. We haven't really seen her.
For certain, yes. So good to see her. I mean, and then if you look at just even her final round, she had 1 bogey and 17 bars.
Consistent.
Yes. She's not necessarily getting it done with long-range drive. That's clearly where she comes up short, literally and figuratively, with her drives. But she also makes up for it when she's so consistent, especially on the putting green. So it's certainly good to see her again, though, this weekend.
And running out the top 10 is Allie Smith. Allie Smith's a DGA-sponsored player. She was the Amateur World Champion. Was it last year? 2 years ago?
No. 2 or 3 years ago now.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Time flies. But anyway, Allie Smith, rounding out the top 10. Just another name to kind of keep an eye out for. I think if Allie can stay on tour, she's got a lot of skills she can build upon. So she's not. Again, I've seen a little bit of Allie's stuff. I don't believe there's anything that really wows you about her game other than, like Sarah Gilpin, just pretty consistent, just pretty good all around.
And I'll be the first to just admit this blindly here on camera. Did we see Allie jump into the booth and do commentary this weekend and maybe replace Madison for final round? And somebody can confirm. I didn't go back and watch post-production coverage, but I thought that was the case. And I'm sure there was probably a story or a reasoning to that, but if so, I don't know what it is. So you guys can, no surprise, you guys can educate us on that. But I feel like we saw Allie jump into the booth during that final round. And so I'm sure second round, Hype Man is telling us. Steve is saying that I'm right. Anyway, hopefully everything was all good. And then I guess maybe that answers the question. If Madison was back for the 3rd round, then maybe it was just a matter of Madison needing a break or something of that nature. So yeah, everyone's jumping in saying that she was in there for 2nd round. Hopefully she did well. I'm going to assume that she did. But I thought I saw a picture of that. Madison had family in town. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I just knew I saw it, and I knew that I did not know the reasoning behind
Madison didn't run it past you?
No. Surprisingly.
Huh.
Surprisingly not. You'd think I'd make her do that, but.
Yeah. I mean, you're the originator of the Two Hot Geese moniker.
I know. I'm wondering, do I get a cut like now that their merch is yet on another level? Will I be getting some royalties and cuts from all that?
Yes, I would expect that. I would wait by your mailbox for that high percentage check.
Okay. I will do just that then. In the meantime, I need to send Simon a message. So FPO, we also saw. Coming out big, especially in that 2nd round to get her into position for the 3rd round. Jennifer Allen doing some work out there, clearly battling through the conditions and what was available out there to then keep her putting on point. And it was just great because we haven't seen her. Of course, she's been cashing and she's performing well, and she can dip into that FP40 division whenever she wants, but we haven't seen her work her way onto a lead card in a little while. And so to see that was great this weekend as well.
It really was. And the way they tweaked this course from last year and the year before, they're always making changes. So about half the course was the same. Some of the holes were shifted number-wise. Most of them were shifted number-wise. And they added a few more holes. And I think where my mistake when I was previewing this course was that I didn't realize that this was going to be, I believe, such a driver-friendly course. That the long arms were really going to kind of work their way up. You've got Tatar, Allen, Vela Diaz. Rebecca Cox is no slouch. Holland Hanley, Evelina. Missy Gannon is like the shortest thrower, and she took 7. Not the shortest thrower in the whole division, just in our top few. So I think that this is one of those courses that we need to look out for in the future if it stays this way, even though I've heard rumors that they're already going to tweak it some more and maybe add a different course. But just let it be known that I think next year, if you're looking at different players to pick, look for the long arms.
Yeah, and the history of this event in that it has moved to so many different venues throughout the last 8 or 10 years makes me wonder if this is exactly what we're going to see next year in terms of the same location. If they're going to continue to want to be on the Pro Tour, I think that's something we almost always take for granted too. Of course, we have our staples on the Pro Tour, but it's such a massive undertaking that you always have to wonder, how did it go for them? How did it go for the host city? Is it for them, their club, their organization, the main TD or an assistant TD? What were all of those experiences like? And just because you see an event one year obviously doesn't guarantee that you're going to see it the next year. Even if it was successful, there's still a lot of other factors that come into play in terms of being able to host that event. Now, clearly, it sounds like I feel like they have a long-term play. There was a lengthy conversation about the property that's across the street that could be available to possibly work into another course. There's a lot of different things that are at play there, but to me, I always think about, wow, you pulled it off, successful or otherwise, for any given event. Do you want to do it again? Because sometimes, like you see this after a lot of world championships, people are just spent. They're exhausted. They put their heart and soul into something sometimes for an entire year or multiple years. And then when it's done, they're like, yeah, we're not doing that again for a while. And so that goes to the club, that goes to the organizer. Those are all those types of conversations that take place.
Do you think that this course, as I just called it, a more of a driver's course, it felt like, do you think a lot of that had to do with maybe the conditions on rounds 1 and 2 with so much mud and rain and wetness that the players there were a lot of standstill shots? And that maybe that helped out having a longer throw from a standstill versus maybe someone who needs to run up. Because I always feel like some conditions like this, I feel really hurt someone like James Conrad,
sure,
who
loves his run up and extended run up at that.
And my understanding is these pads were fine as long as you stepped over the mud to get on the pads. But if you track the mud on, it could become slippery. We saw players withdraw from this event on the MPO side. There was like 3 or 4 of them because they just, they were out of contention and the weather wasn't great. And it was slightly, well, I don't want to say dangerous because that might be putting it a little too much, but the conditions could lead to possible injury. So I'm wondering if that's, if the power, because Jen Allen has a powerful standstill shot.
Yeah. I feel like it's both power and the fact that, and Macy leaned into this from the very first day talking about at the press conference, it leans into the fact that if you have a standstill forehand as well. I mean, standstill backhand, of course, is always great, even though it's a little bit more difficult. But if you are very comfortable with your forehand, you're probably comfortable with it being a standstill shot. And that was a huge advantage out here on this course for everything you just said. You don't need the run up. You're not slipping and sliding everywhere. So if you could stand there with a forehand, it certainly came to your advantage. In fact, Macy, and this is a little bit of a comfort thing regardless of the actual conditions, she just flat out said, she's like, I'd like to get into a position where I can always then be throwing a forehand, as a second shot. So she had that game plan anyway. But, yeah, I feel like a forehand thrower had a distinct advantage out here this weekend. And that could be said of any heavily wooded course and any course when the conditions are terrible because you reduce all those run-ups and those slips and potential issues. So, yeah, it was a little bit wild to see because there was the conversation of mediocre to poor weather day 1. And everyone kind of had this hope of, well, day 2, it's supposed to be nicer. Day 1, we may even skirt by with missing it. Well, it didn't. And then day 2 ended up being as bad, if not worse, than day 1. And then day 3, the clouds in the heavens just opened on Easter Sunday for everybody apparently. And next thing you know, the sunshine was just abundant and absolutely beautiful out there. People were wearing gloves and mittens one day, and then 24 hours later we're in shorts and short sleeve shirts. So it definitely became a little bit more typical of a beautiful spring day in Tennessee, as opposed to the first couple of days what they had. But that's spring in most of our states, right, though?
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get. You can't. I saw some people online say things like, this is why you need to stay south of XYZ until May, which unfortunately doesn't make sense. You can't hover through Arizona, Texas, and Florida, maybe Mississippi for 2 to 3 full months.
Yeah.
So you're going to get some of these random weather occurrences. And I know the players don't love it. Me as a viewer, I kind of like to see the players struggle once in a while. I've said that about DDO. There's a limit, but playing in the wind is a skill that I want to see people have to do. And as I said, there's a limit. I don't want to see 50 to 60 mile an hour winds for 3 straight rounds. But if we got some players on the tee and they have to fight a 30 to 40 mile an hour gust once in a while, I get a little bit of pleasure out of that. I'm twisted though.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I dislike about all that is then when we start pushing these 4-hour rounds.
Yes, that's miserable.
And really that is to no one's advantage to have that kind of round when you're talking about the players, the staff, the camera crews, all the other media, the volunteers. Like there's just almost literally no one that is excited about that kind of time and the length in which those rounds run. So,
you know what I am though?
What are you?
I'm amped up.
Yeah, you are. I see what you did there.
Oh, do you? I'm amped up for our guy here in the. Is it the Disc Baron Digital Green Room still?
It certainly is.
All right, the one and only, the MCO winner, Simon Lizotte.
Hi,
oh,
Simon.
Beautiful quality. I love it.
Yeah.
How are you doing, buddy?
Massachusetts Wi-Fi. Not doing fantastic, but no, I'm doing great.
No, you look fine. We might be sending you a lower quality signal because some of our guests at times they have. Here, watch this, Simon. Watch this.
Oh, look at this.
Some of our guests are on the road a lot, and so we send them a crappy signal so that the internet, they don't, maybe they're at a truck stop. Maybe Sayananda was just in her car a couple weeks ago with her dad. So we send them a bad signal. But for you, we'll give you top-notch signal, Simon.
Only the best for you, buddy.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm doing great. I just came home from my darts league every Tuesday, and I won all my games tonight. So good start to the evening. Actually, I'm going to bed soon.
How many weeks is Dart League? Like, when did Dart League start, and when does it finish?
Oof.
I
want to say it started in February, and I think we have like 3 or 4 weeks left. Okay. But I'm not the right guy to ask that. I show up on Tuesday, and that's about as far as that goes.
Are these are like pre-selected friends or teams? Was there a draft? Like how did you get to be with the people you're with?
Oh, let's get into darts. I like it. I love talking about darts way more than disc golf anyway,
disc
so
golf.
that's perfect.
You can talk to disc golf with anybody. Like, who cares?
I know. Yeah, so I've been playing darts probably for about a decade now, just on a very just hobby level. The darts in Europe is like huge. I don't know if you ever watched like a pro darts tournament, but it's a full-on party. It's so fun to watch. I've never been actually to a real game in person, but even the TV streams and everything, they figured out how to stream darts. It's such a killer broadcast. And I'm a huge fan of all the pros, so I started playing in Germany when I still lived back there, and almost like every other bar will have a darts board, probably. And darts is growing really, really fast now. So when I got to America, yeah, in some bars you find darts, but for some reason there's no real, there's a handful, but not really, professional darts in America. It's not really a thing, which is kind of strange because I feel like darts should be like such an American game, but it really isn't for some reason. So I saw zero darts in Massachusetts or anywhere near me, and I kind of was very always sad about that. There wasn't like a dart scene here until I once got a message from a man named Ray Carver, who is apparently a darts legend in the US, like one of the top 10 players from like back in the 90s, maybe even before that. And he's now a disc golf fan, and he reached out to me and asked me for a signed disc in exchange for one of his signed sets of darts. And he told me he used to live in Massachusetts. So I was like, hey, maybe he's my in to the darts scene here. And he gave me the contact to Kirsten, and she is like the darts person in New England, basically. She has all the connections, she sets everything up, she runs tournaments. And I found out that basically New England is the biggest darts scene in America, and especially Massachusetts. It's everywhere. You just got to know where to look. So I played like a pumpkin tournament, like in Halloween something, where like I don't know how many people were there, but I ended up getting second place, and everyone was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" I beat some like known players in Massachusetts. We're all on amateur level. Like there's no money involved. We pay like $20 entry, and the winner gets maybe $100 or something. So it's like super basic and fun. But everyone was like looking at me and talking to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm a disc golfer, and I moved here 5 years ago, and I love darts, and this is my first ever like event I'm playing, and I was looking for a darts league, and then I think there's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G leagues with like multiple teams each league, kind of like the New England disc golf team series. So many teams, so many bars have darts leagues, and they stuck me straight into the A League on a really cool team in a bar that was only like 9 minutes from my house. Really, really, really cool place, and I met some now friends. I mean, they're all in their 50s and just darts nerds. It's kind of funny, and I fit right in. We meet every Tuesday evening, have a beer, throw some darts, and they all care way more than I do because I have other things to worry about. But I'm pretty competitive when it comes to darts and pool as well. And I actually played a huge darts tournament up in Leominster here just like 3 weeks ago, I think. I was shaking, nervous. There were like over 100 people. I didn't play very well, unfortunately, but I was mind blown. There were like 30 dartboards in this huge hall. It was a really cool experience for me. And yeah, now for 1.5 years ish, I've been part of this darts league, and now my team's leading, and we're about to go to the states playoffs. And if we win the state playoffs, we go then to the nationals. And if we win that, we like can go international to like England and stuff and play for like actual money. I don't really get it, but I know that we're like a really good team now.
How first of all, you have to be somewhat, like you said, when you go to this event, you have to be frustrating to them because you're the equivalent, right, of some guy showing up with the local grocery bag with 3 discs and then being on the lead card. Like, so, you're the equivalent of showing up to the dart event or the dart tournament, and everyone's like, who the hell is this guy? And why is he so good? And why have we never heard of him before? So
yeah,
my question, go ahead.
So I just want to slight different tangent real quick. I played a pool tournament 2 weeks ago on Sunday, right before Nashville. Every Sunday at the pool hall here, they have a 9-ball tournament, which I haven't been to in like 2 or 3 years. I don't know why. For some reason, Sundays are always busy. But I ended up going because I got some free time, and I made it all the way to the finals. And like people were coming up to me like, "Who are you? Like you beat like semi-pros at pool." I was like, "Oh, I'm nobody. I was getting really lucky rolls today," and I really was. I was getting stupidly lucky shots. Bit embarrassing, but I made all the way to the finals, and the guy in the finals was like one of the best freaking players on the East Coast. I think he looked like freaking like a mega pro, but he murdered me. I had no chance. I was also way too tired and exhausted, but yeah, it's not like I'm like mega talented in those things. Like you have no idea how much I practice pool and darts. It's quite sad.
Do the folks at your darts league understand your position in disc golf? Like, do they know your new contract? Do they know that you just won a huge Elite Series event? Can you even explain to them what an Elite Series event is? Are they kind of just like, all right, okay, cool.
All right, Frisbee boy, get up and throw your darts.
Come
please.
on. You need a triple 19 and a triple 20. Finish her out, buddy.
I mean, sometimes I feel like they act like they care. I don't think anyone really knows what's going on or what means. I mean, disc golf is getting pretty big, so I think most of them know about the game. They've maybe played once or twice before. We definitely talk about it every now and then. And if I tell them, oh, I just had a great week and I won or I finished top 10, then they'll give me a fist bump, but I don't think they really understand. And I'm totally fine with that. I don't need them to understand.
Yeah. Does your dart stroke look like your putting stroke? Because I remember sitting at GBO after hours watching all these pros play darts. It was like Yuli and Ricky and all the guys. And I was watching them, and half of them I was like, that's their same stance they take for putting. Like almost all of them, they get the same, other than Ricky who didn't do a straddle between his legs for the dart. But a lot of them looked, I was like, yeah, that's just a modified version of your putt. Can you see that in your dart throwing?
I would say it probably translates a bit. I've never really broken down my putt too much because I think that would mess with my mind while I'm putting. I don't really want to think about what's going on. And same with darts. I just stand there and chuck it at the board and just always act like I know what I'm doing.
Fake it till you make it.
Yep.
At what level, and I know this is a pretty big what if, but what is the level of tournament that you would be okay with skipping if you actually got to a nationals or international event with your dart team? I mean, would you skip returning to Des Moines if you guys are playing for a title in England or have the chance? Would you skip? I use Des Moines. I mean, you happened to win there last year, but would you skip an event if given that big of an opportunity?
Probably not. Probably not. I don't know. It's honestly the big darts tournament I played here a couple weeks ago kind of put a little damper on my darts career or ambitions. A darts tournament is weird because you have all these people and you have a limited amount of boards, and you also need boards that are open for like warm up and practice. And some matches are really fast if like really good players play, and if like kind of crappy players play, a match might take like 20-30 minutes. So it could be that you play one game of darts, like best of 3 they play, which is over in 5 minutes usually, and then you sit for like an hour until your next game, and then you play another 5 minutes, and if you win, you sit maybe for another 30 minutes until your next game. So I got there and I found the whole thing way too slow, kind of boring, and if you lose, you're out. And then you got to wait like 4 hours till the next competition starts. And I don't know, the whole thing was kind of like, all these guys were like too serious about darts. I just wanted to go and have fun, and they were all there to like do business. Even though they're all amateurs, it didn't really make sense to me.
And then that probably opens yourself up, these long waits in between. That might be a little too easy to step up to the bar once or twice, which only is probably going to hurt your chances more, right?
I see that as a problem. It's easy if you sit suddenly for 3 hours and you order 2-3 beers, and then you get up and got to throw darts on the millimeter precisely. Yeah, it's tricky. Sitting there for 8 hours for a tournament, and you gotta pace yourself. I mean, I think that's part of the game.
And clearly, the money doesn't appear to really be there either. I mean, do you sense it in disc golf where, I mean, you can play all these different scales of tournaments, A, B, C tiers, Elite Series, whatever, and there's all sorts of money that can be won, but is it kind of all or nothing? You're either really big time in darts or you're not making anything. Is it kind of an all or nothing almost?
Well, in America, I would say the tournament I played was one of the biggest tournaments of the year in Massachusetts in darts, and that was like of a level of like a C tier in disc golf. So,
oh wow,
America is like really behind on professional darts, but in Europe, I don't know too much about the darts scene specifically and how how it works. But once you get to higher levels in darts, you're going to be like a multimillionaire.
All right, Johnny's done some research here, thanks to Google.
Yes, I quickly did some research. The winner of the World Darts Championship, 2023, £500,000.
500. And
Runner,
pounds is more than the dollar.
okay, Mr. Bank. No, I'm just kidding. Runner up is 200,000. Semifinalist takes 100,000. Quarterfinals 50,000. The last 16 is 35,000. Third round 25. Second round 15. First round 7.5
thousand pounds, 7,500 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, getting to the World Championships is
a big
tough.
Deal.
Okay.
I would imagine. And they're playing cricket at this World Championship, right? That's
no. 501.
Oh, it's 501. Okay. That
cricket only exists in America.
Really? Jinx.
Yeah.
Huh.
And you love playing cricket as well.
They probably play it in Europe too, but I've never seen it on TV. Like, it's not a professional game.
It's just 501, huh? How often do they miss?
501 double out. That's the game.
How often do they miss? Like, at some point, it feels like, I mean, it feels like it's a board. There's no defense. And the highlights I've watched, and granted they are highlights, it's always like triple, 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 your turn. The guy walks up, triple, 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 your turn, triple, triple. Oh, so he barely missed. And it's like, oh, it looks like he's going to lose tonight, Frank. It's like, damn it.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
They definitely have it dialed in.
You watch the highlights of the best players in their best moments, so that's what it's going to look like. And I can see how that will give you a weird idea. But no, games get very, very intense, very interesting. They miss super important clutch moment shots, and sometimes they make insane clutch moment shots. Like any sport, really. It goes back and forth. Underdogs sometimes beat a total favorite. But there is those 3 to 5 guys that always kind of end up on the top. Those are just like total robots, machines. Unbelievable, in my opinion. Those guys are so freaking good. And actually, the current world champion, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on a different podcast before, but the current world champion, Michael Smith is his name. He's from the UK. He follows me on Instagram, and he actually followed me on Instagram before I even followed him on Instagram, because he said during the pandemic, like in lockdowns in his hotel rooms, he was bored going through YouTube, and like a Jomez video popped up. And he's never played disc golf, but he said he became super into it, like watching disc golf. And I was one of his favorite players, so I was like so starstruck when I once went to his Instagram because I wanted to check if he posted something about an incident that happened during a tournament. And then on his profile it said follow back. And that was one of the most intense moments of my life where I was like, what? My freaking darts idol follows me and I didn't even know it. So that was pretty cool, pretty special. And we've talked back and forth many times. He had the best season of his life last year. And I had the best season of my life last year. And we were like messaging back and forth. We won a couple tournaments actually on the same weekend, which was kind of awesome. And one of my dreams right now is to do a Beyond Disc Golf episode in the UK and do a little side story with darts and hopefully have him on the show. That would be the darts world champion. That would be so cool for me to like play a leg of darts against him.
Are there plans already for next season of Beyond Disc Golf? Have you guys talked about season 2?
Yeah, we've talked. We've had a meeting about it. There's Joma is actually on their Patreon did like a contest of give us suggestions for new locations, new courses, new stories. And Joma has just sent me a list with like almost 100 new places potentially, and they asked me to do like a top 10, top 3 of where I want to go. So things are moving. We are trying to figure out when to shoot. We all agreed that we loved the show, and the feedback we got was beyond positive, and people want more. So I personally feel like it might be worth it to go for it again. And it is fun. I mean, the team I had behind me, they're just awesome times. Like the 3 weeks we shot for the 3 episodes were 3 of the funnest weeks I've had all year last year. Um, and yeah, if we can do some international trips to some places no one's really heard of with some cool backstories, I think disc golf needs it, and I want to be part of it.
I guess that kind of can segue into a maybe a common question you get is where are you when it comes to your own personal content right now in terms of when you plan to make stuff, what's on your back burner, what's not, when do you plan to put the focus into stuff, like what's kind of your game plan, as knowing it's going to change probably, but what's kind of your loose game plan with content for your own channel?
Yeah, the weeks I'm home, I'm trying to make 1 or 2 videos a week if I possibly can. It all depends, like if the baby is sick or if Natalia's sick or how I'm feeling. And the weather, of course, here in New England is always a bit unpredictable. Right now, we have like the best week of April ever. It's going to be like in the 80s this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I really hope to get a video done this week, of course, to talk about my week in Nashville and to give some updates on the whole MVP switch. Because man, people are eating it up so far. It's been like extremely fun. Um, I often don't really know what to say because it's just too overwhelming how into it people are. It's pretty amazing. The whole last 3 months have been quite the quite the experience.
Do you feel like you've, and maybe it's just me and my personal stigma of MVP, do you feel like you've broken any stigma as far as the stability of the discs? Because that was one of the knocks on MVP for a while, was that they didn't necessarily have anything that was stable enough for our top pros. And I think even you ran into that when you first threw the discs, when your first blogs, you were like, wow, I need to find something that fits. You've clearly found out whether you've been able to make adjustments or whether you found the right discs. How has that gone for you?
Yeah, well, first of all, anyone who knows MVP's lineup is that there's many, many options, and the putters are phenomenal. The mid ranges are my favorite I've ever thrown, and fairway drivers phenomenal. Distance drivers was this one slot, like 11 and up. They don't even have a 12 speed, which is pretty strange considering all the other companies. That's like their number one seller. So like 13 and the 14 speeds were what I was working with, and it took me weeks to like find the right ones. And now the white disc with the black rim that I'm throwing is the Dimension. And even though the rim is borderline too thick for me, I have pretty long fingers, big hands, so I can manage. But stability wise, that disc is like right on the money for me. I can throw it just dead straight, and it's a 14 speed, and it's so consistent for me. And then the Delirium is kind of the little brother to that has a little bit of flip up to it, or for rollers and stuff. But no, the first week I instantly knew that I was not going to have an issue. I was slightly worried about distance drivers, but I don't know if you know Brad and Chad, the two owners. They're masterminds, and we'll work together and figure everything out. That if there's still some open slots that I need filled, we'll figure it out. We're working on stuff already. It just takes, you guys know how discs are made. It takes forever to make a new disc.
And you say that they don't even have a 12 speed, and I kind of chuckle at that, thinking, who's 12 speed? We all know that there's no true, like, this is a 12 speed driver. Your 13 speed might be equivalent to a 12 speed of something else, and flip a coin.
Yeah, the benchmarks aren't exactly there.
Correct. I mean, no one's asked me to throw them yet, and I judge them.
Well, MVP really wants to be different. They don't want to do anything like anyone else. They want to do it their own way, and that's what they're gonna do. I've learned that real fast, and everything that I didn't know about the company at first, like now all makes sense, like why they do what and how they approach everything. It's like it all makes sense. They just want to do it different. They want to do it their own way. They didn't copy anything from anyone, and they think they make the best product. And so far, I can't really disagree.
And I think that, without getting too far into the weeds, but many years ago, there was always that question of the overmold technology and the two separate pieces of plastic. And, at no point did I ever see MVP claim that they were the first, and they weren't. We had seen that done by Odyssey or the Quest AT disc. We saw that done by Innova in some capacity. Latitude at one point dabbled in it and essentially discontinued doing that with their molds. So it's not like it's, completely revolutionary in that sense, but clearly they're the ones that are banking on it and continuing to push it forward more than anyone else. Do you think, whether it's what you're doing or just what MVP in general is doing with their success, do you think it's going to maybe kind of quietly nudge or encourage anyone else behind the scenes to be like, hey, maybe we should be dabbling more in this, or maybe we should revisit that topic? Do you think we're going to see that by any other manufacturers?
I don't know. Well, I mentioned, I think it was you actually that interviewed me at the time in Vegas when I talked about the robot. You were there, right? I think I'm still working on that, by the way. Things are moving slowly but surely. If we can build this throwing robot and we can have it throw exactly the same twice in a row, and we can prove that gyro flies, I don't care how much further, like let it be 1%, let it be 10%, whatever. I think then we'll see something. But other than that, I think to the human eye, you can't really feel a difference.
Do you feel like, whether it's MVP that helps make this happen or any other entity maybe that wants to challenge it, do you feel like we should see another distance competition soon? And I know the Wiggins and the breaking the world record isn't maybe even the concern, because that was such a unique day and situation, but just in general, get the top 10 distance throwers, MPO and FPO, put them out in some kind of legitimate contest, and who would that benefit the most, maybe, is the best question.
Hard to say. I mean, I've dreamt about the way I would like to see a distance contest is at night with floodlights. I've talked to Jonathan from Jomez a couple times about this, that we want to make it happen.
Is that because of air density, or is that what's the logic to?
I think it will be easier to film.
Oh, okay.
I think it's easier to film because in floodlights, everything is way easier to see.
Okay.
I think if we have like a golf driving range that has obviously lit up, and then behind the throwers, we have like some bleachers for, I don't know, like 200 people, and do it in Texas, maybe Dallas, and getting 200 people to watch top 10 distance throwers would be super easy. And get 2 or 3 drones out there, get some super hype commentators out there, get some good music. I think we got something there. It might be a good broadcast. Might be worth it financially to rent out the driving range to light it up for 2 nights.
I mean, I think there's a fun concept there to be had with a driving competition, and then there's also, as I think maybe Terry was alluding to, a true distance competition like we used to have in the desert, being that, as we know, no one may ever break Wiggins' record. It just might never happen. But it is that was years ago. And I think there is some value in players that maybe want to see who the furthest throwing players are now. Is it still Double G? Is it still Wiggins? Does Gannon Burr step up? Does, I don't necessarily know if you would participate these days with your elbow, but I think there could be, and for manufacturers, there's obviously going to be some advantages there, because everybody wants to say, we've got the furthest throwing player on the planet right now. Whether it's a world record or not, we don't care. But right now, so-and-so throws further than everybody else. I think there could be a lot of fun there, and some advantages to maybe manufacturers to make it happen. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're
in charge.
I mean,
yeah.
if I can't throw, I still want to be part of it somehow. Maybe as a
You're the hype
side
man.
commentator or the hype. I'm not sure I'm a great hype man, but I could be like maybe analyzing some throws or technique, or I don't know, something. I could
Yeah.
maybe be the DJ. No, that's Kevin Jones. But I don't know. Maybe I'll be a freaking cameraman. I don't care. I want to be there.
Just you want to be there.
You just want to be there. Well, speaking of equipment, have you how much research have you put into the amp that you're going to be purchasing?
I think I Googled best amp, and that's
Okay.
as far as I went. And I scrolled through some answers, and it was a bunch of numbers and letters next to the amp name, and I was like, okay, I'm done for now.
Okay. All right. But an amp is absolutely in the cards so that you can plug in your trophy guitar and you can play it.
I don't think you're gonna wait too long for that to happen.
Okay.
I
All
bet
right,
you.
all right.
I bet you it's a video
smell
in the
a
next
video
2 to 3 weeks.
I smell a video coming.
Maybe 3 days.
I
Who
do want to
knows?
touch on real quick because this was talked about in your conversation with Perks as you were closing out for the tournament and the win. It was kind of understated maybe a little, but you're leaning toward the idea, and you referenced it. You're leaning toward the idea of getting out of the weather that Massachusetts offers, and
Oh yeah.
and you've been there for 5 years, and you like the idea of playing disc golf year round. Obviously, we've seen a large shift of people kind of migrate into the Florida area, various parts of Florida, including
Or Arizona.
Yep, including Macbeth, who's obviously moved down there, and Wysocki mentioned Florida at one point, but then settled on Arizona. Like you said, how quick and how serious is that for you? That idea of moving.
I'm struggling to answer that because I've been thinking about it for at least 2 years, and I
Yep.
always thought, okay, well, next offseason I'm going to do it. Okay, next offseason I'm going to do it. Now I feel like we're in a position where we more realistically could do it financially, and because Natalia quit her job.
Mm-hmm.
It makes more sense now than it has ever before in the last 5 years. But no, I wish there was like a perfect place, but I think everyone knows, like, no matter where you go in the world, there's pros and cons. And yeah, I've been thinking about it for literally 2 years. And as I said before, that going on Zillow is like my favorite thing to do, and looking at neighborhoods and houses. And I go, of course, to UDisc and check all the courses that are near. And Charlotte is obviously the obvious answer for that checks most boxes. But for some reason, Tampa is not leaving my head. Like it,
Hmm.
I feel like Tampa checks every box except for hot summers and then hurricane season and bugs. But I think those
Weather.
three are the only real issues with Tampa. Like
And
it has
Tampa
a
Bay Brewing
phenomenal
is there.
airport.
Right? Yeah. Good
Oh, yeah.
airport.
Phenomenal airport.
Yep.
Do they have darts leagues?
Great disc golf scene and disc golf courses.
Mm-hmm.
Like as good as it gets off-season weather. And then Ken Kleinel lives there. Calvin Heimberg lives there. Paul just bought a course 45 minutes from there. And it's freaking paradise. I mean, if you live in the suburbs of Tampa, you can be in a super safe place.
There's literally a place called Paradise Island right off of Tampa.
I think there's a place called New Suburb Beautiful. I think, or something along those lines. Something with beautiful in it. And I was like, man, I want to live in beautiful.
Okay. That as Johnny joked about, and Hannah, I'll combine Johnny and Hannah's comment where, like, first of all, do you care about the dart scene when you get there? And then second of all, as Hannah put it on the board, she's like, when you go places, do people be like, hey, man, you should come check out the dartboards at such and such bar in my area? Like, do you get some of that from time to time? Just like golfers always say, hey, man, you got to come to our local course. It's like so awesome. Come check out our dartboards. Do you get that?
No, dartboards are pretty universally the same.
Well, no. Do you have a preference? Do you prefer
yeah.
the electronic or do the old school corkboards.
Oh, his dartboard is. I was going to ask you earlier. Break down for Johnny your dartboard.
Terry told me about your dartboard, but
break it down.
Yeah.
Like
Johnny, that was like the most noob question I've ever heard in my life.
Ouch! Ouch!
I like corkboards. I think they're fun.
Electronic darts? No,
Yeah.
No electronic darts
electronic
for this
darts.
guy.
All right.
No.
Because
you
it's
don't
only,
want to throw a dart and every fifth throw it bounces back at you.
I agree. I agree, but I'm just saying, you know.
Ouch.
Electronic darts is fun when you're too drunk to count.
Yeah. Yes.
So you've heard.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I don't drink. But no, I have a really cool setup. I believe it is NASA technology. I don't know if I'm just saying that or if that's actually true, but I've heard it. And it's basically 3 cameras you set up around your dartboard that all point towards the middle. And you set up an iPad or a computer or whatever, and it sends everything, all the pictures to your little computer, and it counts for you. It keeps all your stats. You can play other people online. They have a new tournament mode now. I think for a month it's been out now. It's called Scolia.
Scolia. Okay, I've seen another thing called Dart C, SEE, where you have cameras set up and it registers with AI basically exactly where you hit, all these other things.
And Matt from the Nick and Matt show turned you on to this, didn't he? Was that what you told me or no? Didn't he?
No, it's a total European thing. I saw it in some darts video.
Okay.
I follow darts YouTubers and stuff, so
of course, yeah.
Of course. I mean,
one would.
I'm the darts nerd.
Yeah, your setup is absolutely insane, and I remember seeing it last year.
Who's the last person on tour to beat you at darts?
Ooh.
Like, nobody?
I don't think it's ever happened.
Okay. Because we have a lot of guys on tour that talk a lot of smack about a lot of games. It doesn't matter.
I don't think...
You ask Yuli, he'll beat you at anything.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I've played with Yuli. He has no chance in darts. He can beat me at pool every now and then, but darts, it's not close. I think, wow, this brings me all the way back to Japan Open 2015, where I played with Ricky, and he might have beat me back then, but that was also before I was like in a league and taking it more seriously.
Okay.
So Ricky is awesome at everything as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, and to be fair, as Johnny was just alluding to, you occasionally do get beat at pool. I mean, you're good at pool.
Yeah.
And you enjoy playing, but you're not quite as proficient at pool per se as you are at darts.
I would say there's definitely way more good pool players in the world than, or at least in the US, than there are good darts players. So I guess the comparison doesn't really fit perfectly. But compared to a professional, I would say I'm better at pool than I am at darts. Because the pros are just on a way different level in darts. Like, I'm not close. In pool, I could maybe win a break or two here and there. But, I mean, I would lose every time to a pro in pool, obviously. I have no chance. But in darts, I think it's almost worse.
Okay.
But compared to the average player, I'm probably better at darts, yeah.
He managed to get past me in a couple games.
I'm sure he did.
We were close. I just had to make him feel good. I was at his house. And,
I understand, Terry.
You know, it's disrespectful to beat a man that is so passionate. I follow 0 YouTubers, dart YouTubers. You know how embarrassing that would be if I were to beat him and he's talking about the #1 dart player in the world, follows him on Instagram. He'd have to report that back, and that would be embarrassing.
You know what? Actually, about me, I love getting beat because that's the only way you learn is by being crushed. That's the best lessons in life.
So we'll carry that right into you learned nothing this weekend then, because you beat everybody and no lessons to be learned. Was that what happened?
I don't know. Yeah, I would put it like that. It was potentially the weirdest feeling win I've ever had.
You would think you'd be used to this. Honestly, like...
Yeah, I mean, I think I said the same thing after everyone last year.
Well, not only have you come back as the whole stat, but you and Macbeth and Climo from the chase card, but just a few weeks ago, you were in this exact same position. Gannon Burr was charging. You were sitting in the in Austin. You were sitting waiting to see what was going to happen. That time Gannon got you. This time he didn't. This is almost old hat to you now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit different. I think this weekend, Gannon had to birdie out to tie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in Austin, he had to get like a birdie, or he just didn't have to bogey the last hole. I think that was the situation. So, yeah, a bit different, but I guess it was kind of similar feeling though, where I finished the round not really ever thinking that I was in contention to win, but it just happened to be in Nashville that I won. I mean, I was just looking at the last three holes in Nashville. 16 is a must get. 17 for the top guys is a probably get, and 18 is basically a must get. You just got to throw it really far off the tee, and then from there it's a pretty simple up and down for birdie. So as I tapped out, I thought, okay, I gotta go warm up for a playoff. That was basically my mindset, and then I mean, it would have happened if Gannon's disc would have landed a foot next to where it landed, probably, but who knows? It's, things happen.
Yeah, I woulda, coulda, shoulda. My first question is: have you thought about playing better earlier in the weekend, so that it's not so?
Or the front nines.
Or better
Yeah.
on the front nine.
Yeah, better. There you go. Have you thought about that
I'm a back
approach?
nine kind of guy. Mm.
I don't know what you mean by that, but
I do want to say that it's not just me. If you look across the board on the scorecards,
Mhm.
everyone on the two courses in Austin and Nashville, the back nine was way more scoreable than the front nine on both courses. So give me that at least. But no, I agree. I just always think back to this famous interview that this college football player did years ago, maybe even a decade ago, where he said, "You can finish slow. You can start slow, and that's okay, but you always finish fast. No matter the scoreboard, you always finish fast."
okay.
So I just go by that.
Do you think that for the longest time there was this, and maybe there still is, this shadow of Paul McBeth when he's behind you, McBeast? Everybody was always scared for years. Oh, McBeth is in striking distance. He's on the second card.
Just needs to hit McBeast mode.
Just needs to get into big beast mode. Do you think you're maybe starting to get that same? You're a different person. You have a different attitude than Paul. You come off differently. But do you think the other players are looking at you now like, Jesus, Simon's?
What if Lizotte goes off?
What if Lizotte goes off in the back nine? Like, he's on the chase card. He could win. Like, do you think there's a fear there from players, or do you not feel like you present that type of personality?
I would absolutely not compare it to Paul McBeth, but I would definitely say that there's a respect, maybe not a fear, but definitely pretty common knowledge that it's possible for any of the top 10 players to just birdie out at any point. I don't see myself in a special position there. Like I would put Paul in a special position. Um, I would put myself in a special position if I was up against, like last year in Des Moines, for example, Robert Burridge, where he's like someone who hasn't won before, someone who just got on the scene, doesn't really know. We don't know too much about him. Like I think in that position when he was leading with four to go, then I was definitely in his head, like Paul McBeth would be in my head if I was in his position.
Yeah, and was there anything about this course when you got to the back? Obviously, you said it plays easier, and we can see that by the stats. But talk about the idea of like, oh, I'm feeling good. I could birdie out. I mean, you said it. You didn't have anything outside of a 20-footer, so clearly everything just had to be firing on all cylinders. Was that ever creeping into your mind? Like, yeah, maybe I'll just birdie out.
Yeah, I mean, I was with Nick Carl, and Nick Carl he's a veteran disc golfer as well.
Mhm.
He's been playing for at least 10 years. He's a 1,000 rated player. He was constantly checking scores and was totally aware of everything. And I'm not really someone who constantly checks scores, but I was so far back that I was like, oh, whatever. I'll look through the leaderboard a bit and see what's possible. And I think it was after hole 10 where I just had two pars in a row after a bogey on 8. So I was kind of like in a little slump during my round. And I think I just said to him, like, well, if I birdie out now, I can still get a top 3. So I'm going to try and do that. And then I think every hole we went on, we just kept like looking at each other and just like kind of smiling, like, oh, okay. And then the further we got to hole like 17, well, and then Nick was like, "Bro, I think you might win if you birdie 18." And I was like, "No, dude, like shut up. Don't make me nervous. Like I don't want to think about
I was
that."
just gonna
That's
say
the worst caddy. Nick Carl, 10 years you've been doing this. That's the last thing you say to somebody.
Well, Nick was just so much. I think I knew, of course, that I might win. I'm not dumb. I've been doing this forever as well. But I was constantly talking myself into I'm not winning. I have no chance to win. Just so I keep this mentality going that I'm just playing to maybe try and get a top three. I'm not in contention. I don't need that pressure. But no, I knew if you look at my last shot on 18, actually, my upshot, I reset like 2 or 3 times on that upshot because like you don't really see on camera on how sloped that is, but my legs were like barely carrying me to my disc at that point. I was so nervous. Um, I'm so happy I just freaking parked that. I didn't have to make a putt.
Yep.
Freaking pinned it. That was such a clutch shot. Oh, it looked so easy on camera, but in the moment, it felt like the hardest shot I've ever thrown. But no, Nick was the whole time in his head like, "Oh my God, he's gonna win, he's gonna win," and I was like, "There's no chance I'm winning. There's no chance I'm winning." So we were going a bit back and forth there on the messages we were sending each other.
Yeah, I mean, and that's understandable. It's clearly you're putting more pressure on yourself, right? If you're thinking about, well, if I just do this and if I just do that and if I just keep doing this, like you're just constantly putting that pressure. So almost trying to talk yourself out of it or really, reduce that pressure, I think makes perfect sense in what you're doing out there.
I think I annoyed the lead card, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you want to do when you're on chase card or third card even. Like if you're on the lead card, you don't want to have to be paying attention to people that are not playing with you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look on UDisc and you see this stupid Simon name, just birdie, 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 like just stop. Like I don't want to deal with this on top of the stress that you already have to deal with what's around you. So I think just that fact that I was not on their card helped me a lot.
I mean, you kind of almost exactly said what Gannon Burr said, I believe, after day 2, where he said, I do want to get in the other players' heads. And he didn't mean like, oh, I'm, going to call him on a petty foot fault, as in, I want to be playing to the point where somebody else has to take notice, or somebody else is thinking, man, this guy's on fire or whatever. But he said those words. He goes, I want to get in the other players' heads. And that's exactly, you just described, that's exactly what you did. You had to have gotten in their heads as they're all like looking and seeing what you were doing. What a weird pressure too, like you said, because you're worried about the people you're playing against. So-and-so just missed that putt. I've got a stroke there, but
I have to think that for so long, we haven't seen people come off chase cards. Decades, it feels like. And now, recently, so if you were on the lead card, it was kind of like you looked at the 3 guys next to you and you're like, cool, one of us is going home with this trophy. That is gone. That idea has to be eliminated. There has to be a different feeling now that the lead card has, like, oh, cool. It's not just us guys. There's the guys back there and maybe even 2 cards back. You don't know, depending on how compressed these scores get. It's a different mentality now to be on the lead card. It's not that same... It almost felt I don't want to say relaxed because it wasn't, but you knew your competition. You could watch them. It's not the case anymore. Simon's a proof.
I mean, it's different from player to player, but of course, but I think a lot of players would agree with the statement. It's better to be in second place, a stroke or 2 behind the leader at the beginning of the last round, than it is to be in first place, ahead 1 or 2. Because you want to be the chaser, you don't want to be the chased. I mean, some people like being the chase, but I think that's minority. My wife is carrying a bunch of dishes into the kitchen now. Try not to spill. Good job.
Are they? Wait.
Yeah, are they yours?
Are they your dishes?
Did you leave them out from earlier today? Is Natalia?
Is she cleaning up after you?
Of course.
Oh,
you're
the worst.
Jeez.
My train of thought. Oh yeah, okay. And now it's like the top 10 is all within freaking 4 strokes. So being on chase card, I would say is an advantage now than being on the lead card because it's way less pressure, often less gallery. You don't have to deal with the Jomez thing. I mean, of course, you're on gatekeeper, but those are slightly different levels.
But
And being the last group to tee off has just a different feeling.
I don't want to throw any shade at Jomez, but does it matter anymore? We have live. We have 3 live cameras on the lead card, the Jomez guys who are also doing live. You've got 2 to 3 cameras now, a minimum of 2 cameras on the chase card, and then probably a roamer. I mean, you still have cameras in your face. Is it still in your head as far as who's filming you behind that lens? If it's Joey Tamale versus Derek Skull, like, to me, and I mean,
no, the cameramen don't matter, but I think that if you go on Jomez, that's obviously still a huge status thing
sure.
in disc golf.
I'm just thinking, like, that to me feels so secondary, and obviously I'm not there, so I rely on what you guys say versus the live, because the cameras are there regardless of where it's going. The cameras are there. So, but I mean, if you're telling me that
True.
It's less pressure, and I don't want to get in your head next time, so don't listen to me.
Yeah, don't let Johnny V mess you up.
I'm no Nick Carl here, but I just find it funny that in today's day and age, there is still that thought. So if you say there is, I trust.
Well,
you.
let me ask you this. Imagine there's no cameras on chase or lead card, and you're at a tournament and you're 3 back, but you're on chase card. Do you feel less pressure or more pressure than if you would be on lead card being 3 back?
I think it depends who's on my card, honestly. Because if Paul Macbeth's on my card,
okay.
I mean, but in general, you're right, because Paul's probably on the lead card. So, but in general, you're right. There's going to be less pressure on that second card because probably less gallery. Although you're a name now.
Well,
you've been a name
just
for a long
the
time.
fact, I know the players matter, of course, but just for the fact that you're not lead card makes a difference. Even
Sure.
though
I believe that.
What I want to look at, and this obviously feels eerily similar, which is why I actually clicked a few more buttons to back up my point.
Oof.
Last year, I'm going to read this off for you. 60th, 35th, 6th, 2nd, and then 1st and 1st. That's how you got your year going. 60th, 35th, 6th, 2nd, and then a win. This year, 47th, 2nd, and then 1st. So clearly trending in the right direction. But is it a fair statement that in 2024, just maybe not put you on our fantasy team during the first tournament or two,
week or two,
and then add you? I mean, that's just you getting warmed up and coming out of the Massachusetts thaw? What is this?
I don't know. It maybe depends on the course a bit. Vegas, I've struggled always. I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe it's the fast greens, and of course the OB everywhere. Maybe it's because it's the first tournament of the year. This year, I actually played well in Vegas. After round 1, I was on the lead card. Then I remember round 3, I played with Paul Macbeth on the same card. I think we were 3rd card. And I mean, the field is so strong. If you have 1 or 2 bad breaks or 1 or 2 bad holes during your round, and then kind of don't birdie out the last 8 holes, then you suddenly are in 30th. It's like you didn't really do that much wrong. And I felt like I played a really bad last round in Vegas. I'm going to admit that. I think I shot 2 over the last round. I don't know why. It happened. It was one of the worst rounds I've shot in recent memory. So it was one bad round. Other than that, I was still like right there. I was still on lead card after round 1 and was still in contention after round 2. 1 or 2 better breaks here and there and a good last round, I would have been 5th place probably. So it's the difference between 10th and 40th is not much, believe it or not.
Who is maybe it's a better way to word it. Who's a sleeper? I don't want to say a dark horse. Who's a new name or an up and coming star that maybe we haven't either seen on a lead card yet, or someone that maybe you've crossed paths with or played one of those rounds with, where you're like, dang, it might be a year or 2, or maybe it's by the end of this year. I don't know. But has there been anyone? Because we have so much talent, and I saw a ton of it in Tallahassee. I saw a lot of those same people the next weekend at Throw It on the Mountain. So all those guys know who I'm talking about in terms of who I've seen. Is there anyone that you've seen that you that impressed you, that you're thinking about could be a big name?
Mm,
No one jumps out.
I
Okay.
don't think I can. I don't think I can say anything that hasn't been said. The
Sure.
obvious one right now is James Proctor, but I guess that's not even a dark horse anymore
Yeah,
at this point.
Yeah, he's known.
And it's a 1040 player that had a bad year or two, and he was down to 1020. And nobody who follows disc golf
is surprised by James
should be
Proctor being
surprised.
good. Yeah, no, I just think
I'm surprised. I'm a bit surprised.
I'm a little surprised at the consistency. If you told me that James Proctor was going to take 5th place at an event or two this year, zero surprise. I am a little shocked at how consistent he's been. But
he's like there every time.
Yeah,
he's there every time.
I agree.
That's crazy.
But he's a known great commodity. It's just that the consistency's there this year, which is hard because nobody else has, other than Kelvin, nobody else has done that.
Wow, and I'll just bring up James for a moment. 14th, 10th, 3rd, 4th, and 6th, and this is really what's crazy. His 5 events, 5 events, add up. His winnings this year, this is bizarre, to the exact dollar figure you won on Sunday. His 5 earnings for this year equal down to the dollar what you earned for first place. Isn't that kind of weird?
Yikes. What did I win?
Yeah, I had to look because I didn't know. You won $8,000. Congratulations.
Okay, $8,000.
The PayPal.
That is my lowest win in the last 12 months.
But the guitar, that's at least there was an
$2,000.
argument between 2. I heard everywhere from 2 to 5, but it sounds like 2,500 ish is roughly the value.
Well, it's hard to really say. The model that it is about 1,600. But with all the unique engravements and it's like a 1 of 3, it like who knows what the value would be. But
sure.
I think that style of Gibson guitar is like around $1,600.
Okay. Somebody said
which is nice. I mean, those are
SG.
nice. Those are nice freaking guitars.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know nothing about electric guitars. I've been always an acoustic player.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can see behind me there.
Yep. You're friends with Jamie Thomas. Just ask him. He seems to know a lot about electric guitars.
Jamie would be a great guy to call for that. You are totally right.
I know. I've had a few chats with him. I don't know anything about any guitars, but the few conversations I've overheard, he seems to be very knowledgeable.
Your winnings this year.
I think he has like 3 or 4 of them. Electric guitars at home.
$353. 4,000.
I cashed in Vegas?
Yeah.
Cash streak.
Breaking news.
He's like, cool, let me check my PayPal.
$353 in Vegas, which you put that on roulette in a couple spins.
That paid for my flight.
4,000 at the Open at Austin for 2nd, and then 8,000 for Music City. Yeah. Do you know your PayPal login?
Balling.
Do you bother anymore?
I don't think they use PayPal anymore.
Okay.
They might.
I mean, with
my
numbers
wife
that
does
big,
finances.
You might have to ACH it or something.
Oh my gosh! All right, I'm going to put you on the spot now.
Oh, hot seat.
What? You've sucked at the majors.
Ouch.
What do you?
I mean,
that's
don't sugarcoat it.
I'm not gonna. What are you gonna do in 2 weeks?
Yeah, are you gonna suck again?
Like I've looked. Like you've done.
Probably suck.
No, I don't. I don't want you to, Simon. Stop that. Kick Nick Carl out if that's what it takes, and play well. I don't care about Nick Carl's. Nick Carl's not on my fantasy team. Simon might be. But honestly, your track record has been great at the elites, poor at the majors over the last 2 to 3 years. Is that just bad luck and bad timing? Is that pressure?
Well,
where do you?
I'm going to say
what
something.
do you need to do?
I'm going to say something a bit annoying about W.R. Jackson.
Okay.
And I know it's a great course. I personally love the course. It's one of my favorite wooded tracks I've ever played in my life. That being said, last year Paul Macbeth shot a 16 under after he shot like a 1 over or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was something along those lines. And I could make a huge bet that in the 16 under, he didn't play like phenomenally better than he did the day before. This is a course that is fantastic and loved by everyone and by me as well. I'm looking forward to playing it again, but you need to get freaking lucky a bit. I'm not saying the luckiest player is going to win because we're going to see the top 5 again that we already know who is going to be the top 5. But if it's not your weekend on WR Jackson, there's literally nothing you can do. Like, you can throw phenomenal shots and get so screwed there. And I felt like last year there I played pretty well and just things were not kicking my way. Like, some holes, there's trees in the middle of the fairway and you throw the shot exactly how you wanted it. And for someone, it'll hit a tree and drop to the fairway. For another one, it'll kick 20 feet into the jail. For another one, they'll miss the tree by an inch. And if you just touch the tree by an inch, it's the worst kick you can possibly get. It's just like, yeah, I don't want to call it a fluky course, but there's a handful of holes out there that if luck is not on your side, every now and then, it's just going to be tough to score well. And I felt like I was missing a bit of luck, specifically on that course last year. So I don't know. I'm going to go in there again with the same mentality I've been going into every tournament for the last year and a half almost, which is just take a deep breath and just throw and just play. No thoughts wasted on trying to win or trying to be the best. I just want to go out there and look forward to every shot and embrace every mistake because they're going to happen. And don't get angry at the bad kicks. Don't get super happy at the good kicks. Just go out there and take it how it comes. There's no expectations. That's been working pretty well. And sometimes it's my weekends and sometimes it's not. Like, I got great breaks in Nashville last week. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the kicks that I got were almost all favorable. And I could throw the same shot again and get a worse kick. And then it's just not my week I'm going to win.
I know you don't put probably a ton of stock into worrying about it until you get there, but they've made a couple of minor adjustments, it sounds like. Have you heard about those? Have you talked about those? Or will you just take them when you get there for your practice day? And then what day will you show up for practice?
Good question. I wanted to book my flight today, which I have not had time for yet.
At least you're registered.
Busy day.
Busy day.
I'm signed up.
Darts,
Thanks.
not doing dishes, but then not signing up to get to a major. Yes, you definitely. How many games of pool did you play today?
Sadly, 0, and I still want to definitely play some pool.
Okay, then you were definitely busy. All right, I'll back off.
Yeah, we went to the mall with the family and we did some shopping because after Jonesboro, we're going to fly to Puerto Rico and have a vacation for the first time in 5 years.
Wow.
Nice.
Our honeymoon, which is going to be, I can't wait. Really looking forward to That's where my wife is from, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been, so I'm looking forward to going.
Nice.
Where was I? Oh, Champions Cup. Yeah, I think I'm going to book for Monday evening, get there Monday evening. Start practicing Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I'm playing the OTB Skins match. I think I know Feldberg is on there as well. I don't know. I think the group is already set, but I don't remember anyone else that's on there. So I think OTB Skins is a great practice warm up kind of before the tournament. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'll have all of Tuesday, and I'll have Wednesday the OTB Skins match before the tournament starts. But I have no worries. Disc golf happens in your head, so the happier and more relaxed you go into a round, the better it'll go for me, at least. So that's my goal.
The course is, whether it's 80 or 90% the same. I mean, you've been there. You're playing just one course for the event. This isn't exactly.
I did well at Worlds there, by the way. I got 3rd at Worlds when Worlds was there, and I think the year
you had a 3-way playoff with Ricky and
2017 3-way playoff with Ricky and Paul. Exactly.
Yeah. Hall of Fame.
No, I wasn't.
So I can do good.
I wasn't saying anything about WR Jackson. I was saying majors in general.
Oh,
majors in general. Yeah. I
you
wonder
just haven't
why.
played well at them.
I wonder if the other people play better than they normally do, and I just fall off because I just play like I always do, or if I actually play worse during those tournaments.
I'd have to look at the player ratings to find out. I didn't do that much research. I literally looked through your history, and I just noticed that majors, it's like, all right? 20th, 57th, 15th. Like it just you're not. You've played much better at the Elite Series events, is what I was getting at, than you have the majors. And I didn't know if there was something that you could equate to it, or if it was just like you said, the breaks weren't going your way at certain events, and it just happened to be the majors. I know it's hard to tell.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe subconsciously I overthink the majors a bit or get more nervous than I think I should, or I don't know. It feels like when I step up to the major round that it doesn't feel different to me than just an Elite Series. So I don't know. Maybe subconscious something could be. Hard to know what's going on in the brain.
Yeah, you should probably win one. That would be my pro tip.
Well, that would be pretty badass.
That would I would say so. I mean,
all right, Simon. We thank you so much. We know Tuesday night has been darts night, and that you're obviously busy, and not only after a weekend of winning, but then you come back, you have just a couple of days to catch up with the family, and then I know that you are off to another project or initiative, or getting ready for the next event, whatever it might be. So, of course, all the Smashies and Johnny and I very much appreciate you being willing to share some of your time with us and time away from your family, sleeping or otherwise. Anything you want to say to the world out there, whether it's our Smashies, your big fans, how people should support you? Give us the whole spiel on that.
You want the whole spiel? That's
whole
a long
spiel.
spiel.
I want the whole spiel.
Okay, well, first off, throw gyro. MVP, huge shout out, of course. They've opened a lot of doors for me and my family. So it's unbelievable support, unbelievable new chapter in my life, and I'm honestly so far loving every minute of it. And I signed with Power Grip. I've mentioned that a couple times now. A new retail store in the US. It's been a long, old school retail store in Europe. Definitely check those guys out. Phenomenal retail store, best in the world. That's why I signed with them. Grip equipment, of course. We're working on some stuff, maybe. And then check out Beyond Disc Golf on Jomez if you haven't yet. Check out my YouTube channel if you want to see some guitar playing soon, potentially.
Ooh.
And other than that, I have a week off, basically. Oh, no, wait. Saturday, there's a new course opening in Milford, Massachusetts. A course that Avery Jenkins and I designed 2 years ago now. Holy crap, that took forever. But it's done now, and it's going to be opened here on Saturday. Weather looks pretty promising. So in case you're in New England and on Saturday you have nothing to do, come hang out with me in Milford, Massachusetts. Lake Louisa is the course. Or Louisa Lake. Might have messed it up. But other than that, did I forget any shout outs? I don't think so.
No, I think that about covers
Oh, wait, I have one right here, actually, one more. Oh, let me see if I can find the right one. What is this? Oh, that's not it. The goat towel.
Ooh.
I think these are my favorite towels that I've ever used. And he just hooked me up with a bunch of, I think, 10 new towels.
what kind of towels are
Because
they?
I ran out.
Microfiber? Are they like a?
They're these two-sided ones. One is microfiber, and the other side is more like a conventional towel-ish.
Okay.
So you have both. Whatever you need in that situation, you can switch back and forth. And they have really cool designs. I can show, like, you have this guy, you have this guy. Hey, is this a German flag? Looks almost like a German flag.
Looks like it's gonna get muddy.
Yeah, goat towel. Greatest of all towels.
Exactly.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, it's definitely. All right, Simon. So that answers my last question, which is I can't convince you to come to the Skyline Classic this weekend. We're gonna
Another shout out.
To Doug and Melissa and Doug.
Yeah.
Hey, we've all had some Melissa and Doug toys in our house.
You got it.
I think that might be it. Oh, one more thing. This thing's really cool. It just spits
blow bubbles?
bubbles.
Just bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of them per minute. It's insane.
What's your least favorite kid toy?
Here, this is as much as a pool nerd I am. I have
Oh
like
my gosh.
catalog for pool cues.
Mm.
Pool dog. Shout out.
You'll get them on board eventually. What's your least favorite kid toy? Like maybe it annoys you, or it breaks, or you step on it, or whatever. Like, what's your least favorite one that you've come across?
I think I love all of them
Wow.
equally.
That'll change.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'd said
Well,
about my kids until
Emmett is finally like fully walking now. He took
Mhm.
his first steps like I think a month ago.
Okay.
But for him to now, he chooses walking now over crawling. Like
Yeah.
literally, I think after the day I left for Nashville, he started walking like full time. It's sad that I missed exactly that moment, but I came home and he felt like a new person. That's crazy. In 5 days, I was gone for 5 days,
Mm-hmm.
and I got home and he was like a real toddler out of nowhere. I was like, what?
Yeah, that happens.
He's like just
very
walking along
quickly.
the house now, just walking back and forth. He's taking turns, picking up a ball and then keep walking and then throwing it. And like, who's this baby?
Yeah, you get a little panicky once in a while. You're like, oh, no, because you're thinking like, don't walk into the corner of that, that end table. But at some point,
I'm a bit surprised
you just have to. You just
how
deal with it.
little survival skills babies have. Like,
Yeah, they really
Why
need
aren't
your
they
help
tougher?
they really need your help for a few years.
Like supervision and stuff.
no, like when they're on the couch, they just want to like face dive
Yeah.
onto the floor. Like they have no idea of anything dangerous at all.
They have no
They
experience.
have no sense for danger at all.
Nope.
Those
Like
dummies.
how evolutionary does that make any sense? Like they have just no idea at all.
There, if you think about it, there are some animals at like 2 months that they just get kicked out of the nest and it's good to go. See you later, animal. Good luck. Don't get eaten by a predator. We have to baby our kids for like 16 years before they finally are like, all right, you're free. Go take a car. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I had this discussion with Steve Dodge actually last week because he came over to a drop of one of his new Birdie games, Birdie Pro. Another
Mhm.
shout out, awesome
Kickstarter just
board
ended.
game
Yep.
with new die and new rules and new karma cards.
Steve
I
Dodge,
think
if you're
on Sunday
listening
I'm
to
actually
this,
going-
Skip Ace could use one as a prize. But go
Mhm.
ahead.
Okay, I think I'm going to Steve's house actually on Sunday to do our second round of Birdie Pro because I miserably lost last time and I needed revenge. And he came over and I talked to him about this thing, like why in humans is a baby useless for like at least 5 years before it can even feed itself? And that's even generous, probably more like 10 years. And he explained to me, he actually knew the answer. And it's because our brains are so big and we are basically born completely underdeveloped because our brains need that much time to actually function properly. And all other animals have so small brains or so like limited intelligence. Sounds a bit bad saying that, but it's kind of true compared to humans.
You're not
Different
gonna
be
intelligence.
offended.
than
Yeah,
us
you're
all.
not going to
Right.
insult any of the animals watching. I promise.
Well, animals have their own type of intelligence.
Yes.
But yeah, they get born with a fully developed brain and then they don't need time to learn stuff. And I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now I get it.
Huh.
Still kind of weird how that is beneficial to our surroundings.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kids better get their shit together.
And at around age 33, you start picking up your own dishes. It's amazing.
Yes.
And around 30, they figure out how to play disc golf better.
There you go.
Perfect. All right, Simon. Well, thank you.
My favorite
Seriously.
interviews.
Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate
I got
it.
I got a text message from my brother yesterday, and he said, "Oh, I'm sitting on an island in Spain, and I just checked scores, and you won. Is this normal now?"
You're like, what? Me in Spain, or me, or you winning? Wow.
He said, "It seems to be like you can win now. That's weird."
That's
So that's like a low key
encouraging.
compliment,
That's
right?
yeah, it's a backhanded compliment.
It totally is, and I'm jealous that he's on an island in Spain.
You're going to be in Puerto Rico. I mean,
I'm going to be in the Caribbean for the first time ever. I'm really looking forward to that. Like,
Yeah.
it's literally my first vacation that doesn't involve disc golf in many, many years.
Yeah. Send him some pictures.
Basically ever.
Yeah. How long are you going to be going for?
I think 10 days. I'm going right after Jonesboro. I'm flying from Memphis to somewhere in Florida to San Juan, and then I'm flying straight from there to OTB Open.
Okay.
So I think there's like 10 days in between-ish, something like that.
Yeah, because the May 5th through the 7th weekend, I know my channel's covering something post-production, and just generally it shows as a weekend off. I'm going to be down at Huck Central, which is going to be a phenomenal course and great competition. But yeah, they're giving everyone plenty of time basically to get from Jonesboro, Arkansas, all the way out to OTB in California. So that sounds like a perfect time for vacation. And then when you're a baller, you just fly right into California. Who drives? Who drives in a old beat up RV with Avery Jenkins anymore? Not Simon Lizotte.
Well,
he just books tickets
yeah,
whenever he wants.
I usually don't look forward to traveling. Usually being home is my vacation. But for this one, I'm actually really looking forward to it. So it's just really cool to like be on a nice warm beach. And I've never been to anything Caribbean. Terry, you probably have.
Not really down there. I mean, I've spent tons of time in Florida, but that's about as close as I've really ever gotten.
I did a Caribbean
different
cruise
down there. Like the water is warm, apparently.
Yeah, we did a Caribbean cruise, and we got to get out at a few places in one of the islands. You're right. Like, it's amazing how warm the water is. You're like, this is like bath water. It's great.
I can't wait.
Emmett's gonna love it. Emmett's gonna love it.
Yeah,
he will. Throw a nice little life preserver.
Yeah,
we're
taking him to swimming classes already to get him used to the water. Perfect. So we're doing it all.
Swimming classes were always fun with kids.
Yeah,
I really enjoy those. It's like
so did I.
It's so fun. Yeah.
How good of a swimmer are you?
I enjoy most things about being a dad. It's just the most annoying part is probably feeding him. He's a bit of a picky eater.
Oh.
But I heard feeding babies in general is pretty hard.
Yeah, you got to nip that in the bud, though. Like, literally, like, you just got to start shoving every kind of food you can at them. Let them. I'm very fortunate. My son will eat almost anything. My daughter, a little more picky. We weren't quite as adamant about it, but my son eats almost anything. So.
Also, I have a question. You both have 2 kids, right? Or do you have 3, Johnny?
2.
Yep, we both have 2.
2 that we know of.
Yeah, that we claim.
How after having 1 kid do you decide to have another one? I don't get it.
Because you think about, in general, it's nice for them to have a buddy, a person, a pal. Like, because you're going to be gone a lot, and it's just kind of cool to be like, hey, my kid has someone to either look over or look after. The big brother is always kind of the cool thing. I'm lucky that, obviously Terry has 2 daughters. I have a son and a daughter. My son is older. So there was always just something really cool about, oh yeah, I was a big brother growing up. And now my son is a big brother. And it feels right to have, and I don't judge anyone who doesn't, but it just feels right for them to have a sibling, right? You have a sibling.
I 100% agree.
So
my whole life, I always thought I never would want an only child as a kid because that just seems off for me. But now that I've had one, I'm like, I don't think I can do it again.
Wait, so
you
how old is he? He's like 14 months?
He's almost to the day, 14 months.
Yeah,
pretty good.
All right, 14 months. So
it's about time.
Yeah, it's about time to start getting busy.
You don't come on Smashbox for nothing.
Terry and I can both agree, like, about a year and a half to 2.5 years is really a nice frame to have kids.
Yeah, because you start going into that 4 or 5 year difference, and
it's way different. Then they're just way different. Then you're doing all these different crazy things. Like, oh, good, you're in high school. Oh, you're still in elementary school. It doesn't seem to work.
Yeah,
I mean, it works, but
sooner than later.
Yep.
There's pros and cons to everything in life.
Of course,
there is,
but
because,
sooner than later.
Yeah, and you don't have to. I don't think you'd have to worry about, like, for me, I had 2 kids in daycare for like a year. That was crazy expensive for like 1 year. So thankfully, I don't believe you have to worry about that. And in general, so there are advantages and disadvantages to the different whatever. But yeah. All right, get off the screen. Bring Natalia in. We're going to talk with her next.
We're going to have a word with her.
We're
You
gonna
want to go on the podcast? She said no.
She said, no, all right. I don't blame her.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
The fact that anyone says yes to us, even disc golfers, is amazing.
11:40.
Yeah.
10:40 for us. Cheers.
Yeah, I don't think
Nice.
it's the same. All right, pal. We will let you go.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for sharing your time, your insights, and all the good stories. And now everybody knows that much more about darts, ourselves included. And
That was a long darts segment we had there.
Love it.
that's what we're here for, right?
I'll see you in Georgia.
I'll be unfortunately I will be in the booth because of Nate and Val having a
In
baby. I'll be in Bend because Nate and Val switched up a few weekends, and this is one of them. So yes, I'm going to be calling the action from the booth. So hopefully I'll be seeing you and talking about you every single day, and we'll be yeah.
And I'll be switching the show and watching you. So it's great.
We'll have our
Promise
eyes
me
on
that if I'm not on coverage, if I'm like 40th place, you mention me at least once.
I will. I will absolutely be able to do that. I'm like, oh man, the other day I'll be like, yeah, Doss. Johnny and I were just talking to Simon the other day, and we said he pretty much sucks at majors. And this weekend,
No, throw me under the bus. Johnny said Simon sucks at majors, and look how he's doing right now. Do you think he has a chance to come back from this? He started triple. I don't know.
It must be the bad luck.
It must be the bad luck.
We'll get you into that conversation. It won't be hard to do, my friend. All right. Again, have a good night. Thank you for joining us. Best of luck at the major in a couple of weeks. We'll see you there.
Yep. Good luck, buddy.
See ya.
All right, good night. Thanks,
night.
guys.
Simon Lizotte.
Always one of my favorite interviews. One of my favorite people. I hope he gets back to Wisconsin here soon.
It's close to tolerable. We put up with him because we have to. So yes, thank you so much to Simon for joining.
He's just, as people have said, like just so honest and straight shooting. Just tells us that he was nervous. Tells us all these things, and we've joked before, but if you want a lot of golf talk, you're watching the wrong podcast.
Yeah, we ain't got time for that.
We talked about the come from behind stuff. We talked about this and that, but we're here to get to know Simon better.
All right, let's quickly. I don't even know if we did it.
No, we did.
Recap?
There's more golf talk.
Yeah,
God,
let's
Terry.
get over that stupid stuff now.
Okay.
Quickly recap what we saw in the top 5 or 8 or 10 spots here for the rest of the people that were losers.
We'll go to 10. We'll talk about the 9 other losers.
Uh-huh.
The first loser, Anthony Barella.
Ouch.
Ouch. Shooting 22 under par, losing to Simon by 1. Anthony was able to birdie the last 3 holes of the round to kind of almost give him a chance. He had to throw a 200 or 180 foot shot in whatever it was to push, and that was very, very, very difficult on that hole, regardless of where you ended up. So he was not able to do that. But ultimately, 3 birdies. Had a slightly rough putting round. I think that Anthony was really in contention. Anthony and Gannon were both in contention to win this, and just really couldn't get it done down the stretch. Tied for third, as I said, Gannon Burr and Kelvin Heimberg. As well as Chris Dickerson. He was tied for third as well. All 3 of those guys on the lead card, I believe, and just got passed up by Simon. Rough. 6th place, James Proctor, who was, I think, on the 3rd card, who shot a 10 under par to jump himself up into 6th place. We talked about him earlier tonight, just how well he's been doing. He's been a fantasy disc golf steal, but in general, such consistency. 7th place, Austin Turner. That's like the 2nd week in a row we've mentioned his name for majors. That guy, elites. Sorry, not majors. Elites. Is this going to be a regular thing? I mean, he clearly has the skills. We've known it for years. He just kind of never was able to put it together. He's always kind of been just.
Yeah, he had a little bit of injury, and we weren't seeing him at his peak physical health. For a couple times, which you couldn't tell by his workouts. You know what I mean?
I just follow him on Instagram. You'll see all of his workouts.
Yeah. So, but he has sustained some very legitimate injuries that have kept him from playing at the top level. And now you have to. It's a very valid question to say, hey, is he over those to the point where his game is all clicking and it's showing us the potential that he's always had? Is the game now developed into everything that we've known he does have?
He's still, based on just what I've seen, he's still kind of in that Anthony Barella. He's got a little bit of a putting issue now and again. But ultimately, he's been finishing near the top for the last few weeks. So congratulations to Austin Turner. 8th place, Ricky Wysocki, coming back from his wrist injury. I'm going to put it in quotes. I mean, that's what held him out. He even said it's not, I think he had said on an interview, it wasn't an injury, so to speak. It was just the Lyme disease flaring up.
Yeah,
and
irritation, flare up.
But it was the wrist issue. Happy to see Ricky be able to kind of come back and finish 8th place. He had a rough first round. I don't say rough, but he was slower first round, but a lot of guys did. It was tough in those conditions. But Ricky ultimately finishing 8th place. So I feel really good about Ricky in the future, whether it's from here on out. I had made a couple comments that I didn't feel comfortable with Ricky until I saw him finish an event. And I feel like we've seen that top 10. Awesome. Ricky Wysocki is back, baby. Tied for 9th place, Joel Freeman and Isaac Robinson. And Isaac Robinson, Joel Freeman just in general, of one of our top players, kind of always up in the mix. And Isaac Robinson getting, I would say, a little monkey off his back. He hasn't played well at this particular event over the last few years, last year or two, is from what my research was. But ultimately, Isaac playing well enough to take top 10. So congratulations to Isaac Robinson. And I don't want to let this go quite yet. Cole Redalin.
Yeah.
In 11th, shooting the hot round, the final round, to shoot himself up 20 places from 31st into 11th.
He kind of has a theme.
He's got a theme. Decent,
Explode.
awesome.
Yeah.
Just I think I said it a few weeks ago. He may be the streakiest player that we have seen in recent memory. Just he has that gear that he just kicks it into for one round. If he could manifest that into 2 rounds, he'd be a winner.
Yeah, just like if Simon would choose not to suck for some of those rounds.
Like he'd win more?
Yeah,
win harder? I don't know. But ultimately, congratulations to Cole Redalin.
All right. So as we briefly alluded to, 2 weeks from now is when we're going to be, of course, back at the International Disc Golf Center for the Champions Cup. We talked about it quickly last week, just the fact that there's now going to be a play-in that has been announced. It's really hard for me to not continue to make jokes about play-ins, and including a C tier that I think is happening in California that sold out very quickly. And I said, don't worry, there'll be a play-in for a couple of the spots.
Every one of those jokes is legitimate and earned.
Yes. So, yes. So we'll be seeing that. I know some of the crew from Nate Heinold's staff and crew who will be one of your tournament director host types is there. I think they're heading down like literally tomorrow to start prepping things, giving it a full week of attention to have some of that crew and staff on site. The other there's a big conversation that we don't know much on, but it did surround the other big event that was taking place this weekend. There was a little bit of a hubbub, as all the cool kids say these days, so I'll spill the tea. No, there was a little bit of a kerfuffle, hubbub, scuffle, confusion, frustration, pain point, where one of the players from one of the teams at the college nationals seemed to get, I'll say, mixed information. I saw a post by them. I didn't see much of a rebuttal, so that's why I can't speak to it indefinitely. But it sounded like there was just a little bit of for lack of a better term, we'll say a scheduling snafu and/or some miscommunication. And I'm only being generic and high level because I know nothing more of the intimate details other than what was
I think
posted.
The only thing I read was from one side's perspective that he had went to the TD, or the TD went to him and said, "Hey, your time has changed," and he said, "Hey, I can't make this time because there are other things I'm a part of here at this event," and so they worked. Apparently, he had thought they worked it out so he could move his tee time back to later in the afternoon. But when he showed up later in the afternoon, there was some confusion as to why he wasn't there earlier in the afternoon. Definitely an unfortunate, I don't want to say black eye, but an unfortunate turn of events for a for a competitor at this event. We can only hope that things get sorted out and figured out. But my understanding is maybe this isn't the first time that someone had said that there was a problem like this over the last couple of years.
It's
hard for me to say.
I was just
I don't follow this.
Neither
event
you
enough.
and I were there, nor do we know all the intimate details. But when it is all said and done, I believe there was something like 750 competitors at the event. I make no excuses for anyone, but when you're talking about 750 individuals that are involved in a weekend of disc golf, unfortunately, I can understand that somewhere a mistake or a miscommunication can happen. And I'm not excusing any blame, nor am I pointing any. I'm just saying, when you look at it from a little bit higher perspective, I'll quickly read off for the 2023 College Disc Golf National Championships. It has the D1 singles with Cincinnati. I'm going to try and read through this as quickly as possible. Cincinnati as your winner. Cincinnati in the mixed amateur. In terms of the team championship was Cincinnati there as well. In the D1 women's singles, Brigham Young.
Well, I just want, real quick, I want about the mixed amateur. Shout out to Emporia State, a friend of ours, EMAC, being the coach. But this is their very first year doing college nationals, and they took second place. So I don't know a lot about college, the college thing, but in general, some of these teams have been around a while. EMAC being able to bring a team and the very first year that they're playing show up in second place, I think it deserves a little shout out.
I can get on board with that. And EMAC, get that bag, you.
That's right.
Coach. Coach Goat. Can we start throwing those? No,
that's not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Next year.
FA1. What am I reading here? It looks like D1 women's team. Missouri A is listed as your champion there. D2 singles. Iowa State listed as your champion. I'm just going to try and keep reading through these. D3 for your team. D2 team, North Carolina State in MA1. I hope I'm not, I was going to say, I hope I'm not missing stuff. I'm sure I am. My announcing was so good of teams and names last couple weeks ago that I got a special clip.
Rolling with it.
So you're welcome. D3 singles, Anderson is listed as first place. So congrats to them. And D3 team listed as North Carolina State. So congratulations. Johnny and I will be the first to admit we are not fully up on all of the disc golf college scene. What used to be a very manageable scene and something that we knew half the people there, or was just a few dozen kids 10 years ago or whenever it started, all that time ago, and was very, very easy to comprehend, has now turned in this just absolute massive undertaking with full-time careers and just, like I said, I think 750 people. Now, one thing that is my understanding is that was played at the same place where we're going to see the silver event taking place this weekend. And so if you weren't consuming all of the PDGA's post-production from the college event, now I think you're going to see it taking place here for our silver event. And Johnny, from what you and I have seen, again, a place we're otherwise not familiar with, at the Blue Ridge Championship at North Cove, so far, there's been a lot of positive response to this course from what we've seen from social media.
Yeah, it looks, I think Ella Hansen had made a post saying it looks very pretty. Like, it's a very pretty course. I'm excited to watch slightly the event. I'll catch what I can this weekend. I don't know what my schedule, I don't think I have anything on my agenda, but I'll probably put it on in the background. My wife always loves that as she rolls her eyes and goes, oh, more disc golf.
Good.
If I'm not going down to Kenosha and hanging out with you, we'll see.
Okay, so yeah, good luck to everybody on the silver event.
Yeah,
this
really
weekend.
good field at the silver event. I think really all you're missing is your Simon, Paul, and Eagle, ultimately, of your top 10 or 12 guys. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Tim Court says it's like USDGC with elevation, tight OB, and small green. So best of luck. Was there any other A tiers on the board that we should quickly recognize, since we usually do?
Probably not.
No, it doesn't look like
no. A few B tiers. This was a dedicated to the elite.
Yeah, and understandably, this being Easter weekend, a lot of events not wanting or looking to roll into Easter Sunday. Obviously, some still did, but quite a few, I think, don't necessarily schedule themselves on this particular weekend. So, all right. And then this upcoming weekend, what are we seeing here?
We've got Bowling Green, which is an A tier. That's a Pro-Am. You've got, obviously, the Silver event, the Inn of a Blue Ridge. You've got Magic City Mega Bowl, presented by DD. That's an AM A tier, as well as an NADGT AM A tier.
Okay. And then the Skyline.
And, of course, the Skyline Classic. Down
hosted by yours truly.
By one Terry D. Miller.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, maybe I'll make an appearance. It ultimately depends on the weather. If it's really nasty, I'm not going to show up. But I'm not playing. So.
like a true disc golf
fair weather fan.
No, what I'll quickly do is show off, and this may or may not come up in the after show, and we do have a giveaway. But I want to show off real quick. Here is one of the stamp. Well, here's the only stamp. Went with a penguin this year. Skyline Classic presented by Discraft. So thank you. That may be up for the giveaway tonight and or next week. I believe that one's a Heat probably, if I recall. This one happens to be a Z Force. Right,
that's a little too stable for my blood.
Yeah, but here's a Z Force. And I got a ton of different molds. Some unbelievable stuff. Feels good in the hand.
Wow.
Puts it on any line I had. No, but I did end up getting 8 or 10 or 12 different molds, so people have an incredible selection.
Perfect for all skill
from.
levels?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Perfect for AMs, beginners, really anyone can. Yeah. So, but one of those is given away tonight. So that's exciting if you're a Patreon member. Is there anything else in the world of disc golf we need to cover before we get into an after show here, Johnny?
Nope. Not that I've heard this weekend.
I feel like we've covered most things, and anything else can be random otherwise. Could be after show fodder.
After show.
All right, guys, we're going to close it out. We're going to thank you for joining us here in the regular show. If you're unfamiliar, the after show is just more rambling from us. I was going to say it may or may not be disc golf, but the regular show had limited disc golf as well here tonight, and that's okay because that's what...
We're going to find another niche sport and just talk about it like we know what we're talking about.
I've learned quite a bit about bags here in just the last few weeks as well from another buddy, so I won't impart any of that on you, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't need to. But we have to, of course, thank Simon Lizotte. We'll talk more about some of the experiences from this weekend. I had a great time doing Tournament Central, but we'll talk about that in the after show as well. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That has been Smashbox TV's podcast 450. We'll see you in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast after show number 450.
450! Wow! That was not where I was expecting you to go.
I'm just changing things up.
You are, without telling me.
Keeping stuff...
Keeping me on my toes.
Fresh. We're here for the after show, folks. 450.
Our regular listeners are really going to dislike that. They want the after show cheer and chant and... chorus. But
the real OGs were saying it to themselves.
that's true. They probably were.
They were just mouthing it right along with us. So welcome in, everyone. This is the Smashbox TV. I was going to say the Disc Golf Guys after show. It's Smashbox TV's after show.
I'd like to be included. Thanks, Tara. I mean, I can leave. It's my house.
You are
I
sitting
can
here.
leave.
You do click a button or two.
I can leave.
Welcome in.
Listen, I ask the hard questions. I call out our guests.
Yes, you told Simon in the show he sucked, so that was good.
I said he sucked at majors.
Okay.
Not
You didn't
just
say
in
majorly sucked.
No.
So
I said he sucked
that would
at
have been rude.
majors.
That would have definitely
Hey.
been rude.
No other podcast is going to call out Simon like that.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I feel like we can because we're buddies.
Yeah. Anyway, here we are. Let's we can touch on a few things. One thing that I did just notice that the PDGA sent out earlier was something about additional PDGA benefits. I think I got an email. And
they're like
I was
credit
gonna
card
try and,
rewards.
okay, I was going to try and log in and see what kind of benefits we're talking about.
Remember the old hotel benefits we used to be able to get?
Yep.
Imagine that, but you logged into your credit card thing. And there's all sorts of different, I did see that, you're right. And you get 25% off on jewelry. You can get 10% off on certain travel things. It's not that you know what having a job is like, Terry.
No, who does that?
But it's kind of like that. I don't see it being a huge benefit to the player base. It's nice. I would never, ever dispute that. But it's not like it's going to make or break whether someone signs up for the PDGA. That's
okay. I'm finally in after I've now finally remembered all of my information to get in.
I'm happy they do
so
it.
I wanted
It's
to
always-
check in as to what do I need to click on?
I think somewhere in member benefits.
Oh, that would make sense.
Maybe under membership.
They actually nicely member benefits.
That would be where I would go, Terry.
Here's something. Play at a discounted rate. Track your proof. They put this all together for us, and I'm just simply not following the
simply
directions.
just aren't going to follow the
I
directions.
know, and that's what I'm looking for. Is where in the world did I see the directions? So this is
Ryan
going
Poach
well.
says he tried a couple days ago and the website didn't work yet, but they announced it today, so hopefully it's working.
So now it's probably up to speed.
I would think so.
Where is my email? What am I? Do I not? I hate Gmail forever. Membership benefits. Here we go. If you log in, oh my gosh, this keep growing. That's not going to work. All right. So anyway, it's out there. If you're a member, click on it. I'll figure it out by next week.
There's an email in your inbox.
Yeah, it's all there. I'm just not finding it because I'm not smart. This has nothing to do. I
100% true.
I do not place blame anywhere else except for on myself here. One thing that was a result of this weekend, and they kind of went hand in hand. I was more active on Twitter, and the only reason why that matters...
Dying platform, but thanks.
Yeah, that too. It was just interesting to be part of a Twitter community of disc golfers during a live event. And for those that don't know...
Oh, sure. That's cool.
Rewind before live broadcasting, partially even before a lot of our post-production, before live scoring was remotely robust, there was live Twitter feed that was literally giving you, Matt Gregoire was literally giving you shot by shot or near shot by shot Twitter feed. That was very much a thing.
With the occasional picture and...
Yeah, occasional picture and maybe a reference to a scorecard or some other things. But that was very much how... In fact, this is even a little more timely because that was the only way it could happen at WR Jackson, specifically because cellular signal was bad. So you were definitely not going live on a Facebook or on any other platform with a cellular device at the time. And so sending out the live tweets was essentially the best that we, and that was put on the back of Marty Gregoire, who volunteered to go do it and took the Twitter feed from 60 followers to 16,000 or whatever it was at the time because of someone being willing to do that. Now you think about, oh my gosh, how archaic and old and largely dated is that? But yeah, we've come a long way, and that being one of the many steps. So it's just interesting to me how many people, because not all of our live platforms offer a chat board. So clearly people are going to this Discord thingy, or they're going to other places.
You should really get into the Smashbox Discord at some point.
I should actually. But people are going to these other places to have
just
these
so you learn how
conversations.
Discord works.
Yeah. Yeah, until it's replaced next year by some other similar platform that
it's not going to be. But
yeah,
that's
just like Slack and all those others that are never going to get replaced or die, right?
No, I'm not saying it's never going to die, but I don't think Discord is. It'll be replaced at some point. Every platform comes and goes. They all have their ups and downs. Discord will be no different. Someone will come up with a better solution for some place where everyone can gather and blah 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 blah. But for now,
that's where the attention is, and I'm not
because it's a private community.
I'm just simply saying that I have not fully jumped on board. Yes,
I know you haven't.
Yeah, Discord is 4 years strong, and Ray says, "Come and join us."
Yeah.
And Tim says Terry was fighting the trolls on YouTube chat during round number 1. So when there's not a live chat, whether it's on the DGN platform or on YouTube, yeah, people are having these conversations in other places. Obviously, Facebook, not necessarily a place for it. You're finding it more either on Twitter or, like you said, on a Discord. It was just really different. It was just a different way to consume. Rarely am I in a position, and this is maybe the point, is rarely am I in a position like I was this weekend where I'm involved in the broadcast in a relatively intimate way, but I'm not giving it my full attention. I didn't have to give it my ongoing
it showed
attention. Yeah, thanks. Doing the pregame show and postgame shows, I wasn't doing the play-by-play commentary, and so it was just a unique role. And I'll be the first to admit, like this weekend, when I'm running a tournament with 200 people, I will completely check out of the North Cove event, not because it's not a great event or it's not a great course and there's not good players. I will be consumed almost every waking moment with what I'm doing instead. And same could be said of the Austin weekend and also the other weekend where I'm doing post-production in Tallahassee and post-production at Throwdown the Mountain. When those other events are going on, never am I just lounging around and taking a weekend off. All my attention is then focused elsewhere. This weekend, it was almost a mix. I wasn't taking the weekend off, but I was consuming the event in a different way, watching more live than I've ever really watched.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really fun experience, and I guess maybe that's the question for you through all of this is Twitter not a place anymore where it feels like as much live chatter happens about the tournament? Because it feels like it was like, and clearly it could just be my ecosystem, but there was like 10 people, like 10 consistent people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more difficult because it would be easier if everybody, and granted this is me being old, picked a hashtag MCO 2023.
Sure.
And then everyone tweeted about it. Or if you were part of, there is an actual quote unquote disc golf community on Twitter which you can go into and it shows you just the disc golf stuff. Great. But ultimately, yeah, Twitter isn't the place where people go. I, for a long time, really pushed YouTube because of the chat feature. I always thought it's a great place to have a community. It's a great place. But we were only a couple thousand strong back then. We're getting 10, 15,000 viewers now. That YouTube chat, shocking, pretty cruddy. Now, not that it wasn't bad before, but it can be a little off-putting. It can be a little much. I do like that the Pro Tour has it set up so you have to be a subscriber.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that I can't chat under my personal account because I don't subscribe to the channel. I have to chat under the Smashbox account. Just because I'm stubborn and my.
I was just gonna say you could chat. You could just. Subscribe.
You actually have to be a subscriber for 24 hours.
Okay. Wow. So if you clicked on it right now,
I could, but
next week.
I'm stubborn, and my personal account, I don't want any disc golf on it. So I use the Smashbox account for that.
Oh, great.
It just
clutter up ours.
Clutter up. I think I'm subscribed to like 2 or 3 Smashbox things. I need a break, and that's mine, and that's what I don't need. I don't need to look at it when it's for my own personal account. But I have kind of gone away from the fact that I think we need a centralized chat. I really like that there is a chat for a lot of different communities in different spots, specifically Discord. I'm a member of 4 or 5 or 6 different disc golf Discord, maybe even 7 Discords. And during the live broadcasts, I'd say 3 to 4 of them have a live chat going with their community. It's like, cool, guess what? You want to talk OTB guys? All the OTB guys are chatting on the live. There's one for Ultra World. The Ultra World guys are chatting on live. The Foundation one is doing. The Smashbox one. You've got the Tim and Ray show. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, that sounds also overwhelming, though. Like, in the
it can
fact
be.
that, like, now you got 9 other places
if
to,
you
like,
want,
drop in on conversations.
If you want, sure. And the nice thing about Discord is that it's a little bit slower. You don't really have to go back and read. And I like the fact that every community has their own chat because every community is policed differently.
Sure.
So you have these people who are, you're not going to come into the Smashbox one and start talking shit. It's very quickly shut you down. Whereas if you go to a different one, there are just
all raw all the time.
There are different, just like if you were to go to Reddit, they have a live thread, not live. It's a Reddit thread of the live broadcast. You could go in there and chat and make a post and wait for people to talk back. It's less of a conversation and more of a, like Twitter, a shouting ground. Here's my opinion, and someone else can respond to you. Whereas if Discord is a little bit more of a community. It's a little more chat back and forth. Oh, hey, did you hear this stat and this and that? I like that. I like that better because it's more manageable. Now, if you want to be a part of every conversation, it's not for you. But I have also learned that watching the YouTube chats and watching as this gets bigger and bigger, you get to a point where it's almost too big. Yeah. I've watched Twitch chats on some really large events, like way bigger than disc golf. A lot of esports and maybe presentations and things like that. That chat it's worthless. It might as well not be there because
it goes so fast.
It goes so fast, and it's half emojis and things like that. You're just like, I don't know why it's there other than a distraction. The disc golf one isn't that bad yet, but it's slowly getting to the point where it's like, unless you can do top comments or I think all comments in YouTube chat. Oh man, I don't know. I'm really, really thriving on the different types of communities because I know what to expect in each one. I know what I'm going to get if I'm going to go to Foundation. I know what I'm going to get if I'm going to Alt World. I know what I get in the Smashbox community. So that is just different strokes for different folks, as they say.
Well,
but Twitter in general, to go back to your original question, isn't necessarily a thriving place for the live chat.
And I guess I was that was part of the lesson learned is I thought that maybe at one point it was more so, but maybe it never was, and you guys would know more. But I found myself at least interacting there, and the other thing that I realized is it definitely didn't have the the kind of the quote unquote spoiler annoyance out there of people not expecting to see certain things. Like if a big putt was hit and you comment or make a tweet about it, like nobody
cares.
Nobody was mad or getting worked up about it. So
correct. I believe most of I think knock on whatever wood is around, most of the spoiler community has been squelched. In every place but Reddit.
Oh.
Like Reddit still has, although technically I believe the big disc golf community and Reddit allows spoilers, there are still some people that are it's a smaller and smaller portion that still get upset about them. But everywhere else on the internet, I feel like it's not even a thing anymore. But there is still a small group, and I've always said, obey the rules of your community, whatever they are. If your community doesn't want spoilers, don't put spoilers. Even in Discord, there is a separate channel for in a lot of the there's a separate spot for the live chat that you don't post spoilers other places. Because some people do want to consume post-production, and that's fine. I've got no problem with that. Post-production has a place for people, and I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum. Let everyone do what they want. But obey what your community has decided upon, and everyone shall be happy.
No, they won't.
No, I know that, but most will be.
It'll be closer to the possibility of maybe being happy. So I do want to quickly talk about, if you missed me tweeting about it. Now, I do want to quickly talk about the fact that this weekend we did see Nate Perkins have, we called them mid-rounds. They really were early round interviews.
The walk-alongs?
The walk-alongs that happened. And for the most part, they happen on hole 1 or 2. Again, very much by design. You know, if you planned one with somebody, and they might be the most gracious and easygoing person, and you planned one with somebody and said, hey, like right around hole 10, we're going to do that. And you get to hole 10, and they've got 9 birdies in a row. You don't want to talk to them. And you get to hole 10, and they've got 9 bogeys in a row. You probably don't want to talk to them. So by design, we saw that they were done early in the round, except for I think Ezra's was late, way later in the round, which of course goes a little against my theory. But the other 5 that we saw were all done on hole 2, 1 or 2. Here's my other pro tip. It kind of goes in line with when I tell myself or my cameramen when we're getting pictures for thumbnails for tournaments, get them before they start the round, because they might be pissed off after the round, and nobody wants to stand there for a picture when you just ended with 6 consecutive bogey strokes. So get pictures of all the players if you need them. Get them before the round if you're doing it for a thumbnail the way I do thumbnail pictures. So that's kind of along this line of get somebody, if you're going to talk to them and we're going to try out this technology, or not technology, we're going to try out this concept. If you're doing it on hole 1 or 2, hopefully their round hasn't taken a train departure in any given direction that we're going to impact them.
And so that everybody knows, open up the curtain, these are all pre-planned. It's not like Nate Perkins walks up to hole 1 that morning. It's like, all right, hey guys, anyone want to talk with me during hole 2? It's all done the day before. So usually the night before, things are arranged. There are players who don't mind it. Obviously, Chris Dickerson was cool with it. We talked with him. There are players who, and I'm not going to name any names, but there are players who just didn't want to participate. They're like, no, I'm good. I'd rather focus on my game and not even think about this interview. I totally respect either one. But
of course.
But it's just that these are pre-planned.
Yes, I think that's why part of the reason why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, the players know they're coming. The players know it's not like just Perk walks up and walks up on hole 2 as they're walking on the fairway, and it's like, hey, Chris Dickerson.
Yeah, this was in this case, these were pre-planned and pre-approved, so to speak, and then. Again,
unlike what we used to do, just throw microphones in people's faces.
Exactly, and I cannot stress this enough that also even when some people used to give me a hard time and some people used to love them, but people back then, 5, 6, 7 years ago, used to say, "Oh, I hate that. That's not fair." Blah blah blah. It was always a right time and place. Yeah. Same thing. Even I, not just even I, but maybe especially me. I knew if it was the wrong time to go talk to and have a conversation. If somebody just bogeyed 4 holes in a row, I wasn't about to go up to them and ask them about it. And I've said this, and I'll say this to the day I die. There's some players who just naturally are more talkative and or are more receptive to the idea and or would love to do it. Like
Germ was always like
Germ's one of them. Paul Macbeth is one that talks a lot during the round, sometimes to who's ever around. He's just a more talkative guy.
I always flash back to the Memorial because we covered so many rounds there. But the big backups that we saw in the middle of the round, there was always a backup or two, and it was 1, 2, 3 groups at times. And so back then, only having 2 cameras, at best you sent your catch cam up to get the drives on the next hole because you couldn't send them very far because you had to bring them back. We didn't have filler. And so we would be stuck there just kind of hanging out, waiting to see something. And at that point, inevitably, some player or Terry would kind of make it known, like, hey, anybody want to chat or something? I'll be over here. Inevitably, like, it would be a Paul Macbeth, like you said, or again, Big Germ, always media savvy. He would wander up, and I vividly recall at least 2 different years where Germ would just chats with you because you're waiting for 25 minutes with nothing to do. So it's not like you're getting in their head or they have to sit and focus. It's just the way it works. It's just the way it worked.
Yeah, and look at present day, someone who's willing to step up to a camera and talk to you whether or not you're intending them to. I think of a Raven Newsom when we've seen him perform very well. And he doesn't have to perform well, but he's one that's just never been shy in front of the camera and will come talk to you. And you could just be sitting as a cameraman just doing your job, and they want to have a conversation. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just know that whether it's an on-course reporter and or a camera person, they probably have the foresight and the knowledge and or the experience with that person to then have these types of conversations. So, but it was something we tried. I know somebody else immediately after it was questioned on Twitter back and forth. People loved it. People hated it. People thought it was intrusive. People thought we need more of it. You know, it was, of course, all over the place because no one can agree on anything. Then immediately somebody's like, wait, here's a clip of them doing it at the Masters.
Yes.
And they cut.
Why do you think that they did it? Why do you think? I'll tell you what. I love Mo, and I think Mo is the glue to a lot of the live broadcasts.
Watch what you say. He's listening.
He not right now. It's way too late, but he'll listen tomorrow or the next day. Mo's the glue. He directs a lot of things. He kind of implements a lot of this stuff. I'm sure Mo saw it on the Masters or saw it at an event and thought we can do that.
Yeah.
If you see it done somewhere else in another sport, which we've seen dugout interviews, we've seen coach interviews in between quarters or halves. I mean, this isn't a new concept, but Mo watches a lot of golf, and if he sees something done on a golf event, he's going to try to replicate it or emulate it. A lot of what we do isn't. Almost nothing of what we do is original.
No.
Other than maybe some of the technology and how we approach things a couple of years ago with live broadcasts and only having live views. Some of that was very cutting edge, but the actual processes of a lot of stuff we do, none of it's new.
No, not at all. So nonetheless, that I did want to address that, and I, of course, am thinking ahead to I will be basically fulfilling Perkins' role through a number of events this year. Same that we've seen with Zoe Andyke, same that we've seen with Brian Earhart. I will be continue to fulfill on-course roles, and then that continues to evolve and change. And that also looks like, as of right now, rather than being the host of Tournament Central, which I was this weekend, there's I think a newfound expectation to then switch role for me personally, to switch a role to when I'm on the course like Perkins was this weekend, to also then be the stand-in person when it comes to Tournament Central. And I'm just going to give Nate Perkins an incredible shout out that although him and I were doing similar jobs, they really weren't this weekend. Nate Perkins was there early every morning to do the show with me. Then he'd walk the entire round, a 4-hour round usually, with the competitors. Then he'd do the post-game show with me, not have any time for lunch, do the pre-game show for MPO, and then do the post-game show for MPO. And
it's a long day.
If I'm just going to be blunt, I'm not looking forward to that. Like that.
It's a long day.
Sounds miserable. So everything that Nate Perkins did, thank you. Because... And this weekend, hopefully, is a little bit of an anomaly in terms of the rounds lasting that long. But there's nothing about that sounds appealing.
I mean, think about it. If it rains at WR Jackson, do you think those rounds are going to be any shorter?
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah.
No, I don't. And so
I did see a lot of love for you on Tournament Central. You leapt over a very low bar. Way to go.
I'm a little stubby. I got short legs and a low center of gravity, so I somehow hopped over a bar if there was one.
Tournament Central hadn't been necessarily loved until recently. There were some pros and cons, but I will say that I read nothing but positive comments about you and Nate Perkins doing Tournament Central. So,
well, thank you. Again, so much of what Nate was doing out there still is impressive to me. It was fun to host the show. I don't know that I'm going to get a lot of other opportunities to do so, because most weekends I am either in the booth or I'm on the course. You know, there's a pretty big stretch for the next 6 months of either I'm in the booth or I'm on the course. So this weekend, in fact, I was supposed to have off this weekend, so to speak, and it was asked of me to fill in and be part of Tournament Central. So it was a lot of fun to be able to do it, to have that experience. Now, I think being out on the course is something that was naturally going to happen anyway, but to say that I hosted Tournament Central and then saw what the host is going to have to go through was definitely a good learning experience. That's for sure. So
there was a small glitch, I know, in the on the final day of the broadcast, and I had nothing to do with the broadcast. Thankfully, not thankfully. I don't know. I like doing them, but it sounded like one of the computers that runs the show had crashed, and so there was a point where there was about 10 minutes of downtime because they had to shut it down, reboot it, get logged in, open it all up, whatnot. And so it had nothing to do with Vimeo. It was completely on Amazon/DGN side. It was just a Windows crash, as we've probably all experienced at one point or another. But thankfully, the replay machine, rock solid, kept going, and they were able to bank all those shots. So when they finally did come back from the long commercial break, they were able to kind of fly through a bunch of these shots that had been these important shots that we didn't miss. I think it happened on 12 or 13, hole 12 or 13. Rather, thank God it didn't happen on like hole 17.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like the crew did a phenomenal job recovering from that. So it's really nice. And I love the new stinger, as it's called, the swipe now that it's doing between cards, as opposed to the big flashing stinger. I always hated the flashing stinger, and much like the PGA, if you watch it, they do a sliding one like that, and I've always wanted one, but honestly, it's not my place anymore to try to design and build those things. So I've always just kind of been like, all right, cool. But when I saw it this weekend, I was ecstatic. So shout out to everybody that was involved in that new feature.
Yeah, and did you notice, and I don't know if this is by design or if it's just part of the preset, it swiped left, and then just like Tinder, it could swipe right as well. Like it swiped both directions.
I'm guessing that it swiped left for card changes and maybe swiped right for replays. If I had to take it, because there's also
pay that much attention.
There's also a different swipe
Easter eggs.
There's also a different transition that showed a picture of a player throwing a silhouette of a player throwing, which was Paige Pierce. I could tell for FPO.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't nail down who it was for MPO. I didn't get that good of a look at it. That's a great trivia question if you can figure that out. Who is the MPO player's silhouette? I only saw it once or twice, so
I feel like it was Macbeth, but maybe
it might have been. I mean, it would make sense, Paige, and then maybe Macbeth. So anyway, out there, congratulations to everybody involved in the broadcast.
Okay, so yeah, that was how things went down.
Ron says he's pretty sure it was Macbeth. Okay, cool. I only saw it once or twice, so and it was kind of secondary versus what we were doing, because all weekend I was up north where I have very crappy internet, and then on Sunday I was in Appleton visiting my family, but the Masters was on and they were watching that, so I was kind of vaguely watching the disc golf in my lap on my tiny phone, and then because I tried to push it to the TV that was there, but it just didn't let me. So.
Those CRT TVs.
No, it's actually a really nice big TV.
I watched almost exactly 0 minutes of the Masters. Same thing, just completely consumed and involved in what was happening at Music City, and then just couldn't bring myself to the attention. I overheard people talking about a tiger withdrawal and about some trees falling, and that was about as far as I got.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy, and very fortunate that nobody was hurt. That those trees that fell. There was probably about 30 or 40 people wandering around in that area, and everyone scattered. They must have heard the trees crack and they scattered, and the trees fell. It didn't look like anybody was hurt, or maybe even hit. I wasn't sure. And then we were talking at the family gathering. Imagine how tough that was for whatever crew had to come out that night and fix that, clean that up, because the Masters is pristine. So they didn't want to have that sitting around, that someone had to show up in the middle of the night, cut that tree up, load it up, get it out of there, probably repair grass, and just make it look like nothing had happened.
Yeah, good call. All right. I wanted to... Where did it go? Ryan Pilcher says that you should do Tournament Central, Johnny.
I'd try.
I think JVD should do the Tournament Central show.
I'd give it a swing, but
sounds like
you gotta show me the money.
Hold out for the big contract.
I'm gonna hold out for the big contract.
That's what you should do.
Can I switch the show and be part of it?
Because just it's a one shot of me again. Click.
Sorry, perk.
That's exactly what you should do. This weekend, I already plugged it, but yes, this weekend, excited. Skyline Classic presented by Discraft. We're going to be giving away at least one of the discs from this weekend's event as part of our Patreon giveaway. Next week, spoiler alert, will probably be another one. We'll give away yet another Skyline disc. It's all within that time frame. Super excited though. We've got over 200 people this weekend, and a couple of our smashies, including some people coming in from Illinois and from all over Wisconsin. So looking forward to you guys. And I want to say, of course, thank you to Discraft, who is our presenting sponsor of the event this year. Stepped up, got me some great custom discs, a whole huge variety of them, and very quickly. And then also I did work with Nate Heinold to get a few more additional items, that I think everyone's going to like this weekend. So looking forward to it. And no, there will be no Skyline chili anywhere. Even if Tim drove here from Ohio and tried to hold me down, I would suffocate myself before I eat more Skyline chili. It's really that unimpressive. It's not that bad, but I don't need to ever try it again. I've been there. I've done that. I don't need to do that. One other quick thing that I've actually added two things since last week to my channel. A little plug here. I added the USDGC playoff, the qualifier. As we closed out the event, everyone's like, "What did that guy do on the final hole? Why did he give away his USDGC spot? That idiot! Blah blah blah. You had to go to a playoff." There was a 3-way playoff for the final USDGC spot at Throwdown the Mountain. We recorded it, so I put it out. It's only like a 4 or 5 minute video. Spoiler, just go watch it. So that is available. And then just tonight before the show, I released something that's definitely different from my channel that most of you wouldn't necessarily anticipate. It is, and it's released right after the award ceremony for the Throwdown the Mountain. Mike Barnett, the tournament director who we had on the show last week, he did a presentation of sorts that was to essentially go to Paul Macbeth along with Dylan Cease about being the new landowners, taking over the course and such. And there was some incredible history within that presentation.
That sounds cool.
Talking about basically how the event came to be what it is. And let's be real. Most of you know what Throwdown the Mountain is. It's in its 11th year, and most of you have now heard about it. And I've been barking about it for the last 9 that we've had our podcast. And so it was a really cool presentation. It's a little out of the ordinary. It's a little bit slow in the fact that there's not discs flying around, but it's like 8 minutes, and I just think it gives a really good background and backstory to the property and a little bit about Paul and Dylan and everything that's going on. So that's out there. I released it just before the show tonight, and it seems like it's actually getting really good response. People said they're just excited to see some of that history. And honestly, I think 5 or 10 or 25 years from now, like this little ceremony is going to have some historic value.
That's great.
In the sense that it's a really big moment. And of course, we talked about it with Paul last week, but here's the actual presentation as it happened. So that's available. And I'll follow that up by saying on our channel, again, I'm going to try to be more diligent with chopping out just the interviews. And it's a segment called Just the Interview. And Last week I did that with Paul Macbeth, which we'll release separately. I'm going to try and make them a little more timely. Tonight, of course, we had, in the span of a total of 3 hours here on YouTube, we talked to Simon for roughly 70 or 80 of those minutes. So on the YouTube channel, I'm going to break it out so that there's just the interview with just Simon for that time. So if you don't want all this other fluff.
It's a good project for one of your little minions.
Yes, I just need minions.
Your daughters.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I should probably put them to work.
Put them to work.
I mean, as Simon said, they're not useful
until they're like
whatever age. So yeah,
they got no self-awareness until they're like 5.
Yeah, they just keep wanting to fall off the couch head first. I did sign up one of my daughters for cheer tonight, and so that's a fun $300.
Speaking of falling on your head,
yeah, so that's a fun $300 commitment. And I did make the deal with her, and I don't think she'll do this because she's excited about it, more excited than the other daughter. But I was like, yeah, just so you know, like, this is non-refundable. There's a little box that says, hey, you can buy an insurance thing for $21. I said, just so you know, if you decide to not do this or you quit, you're paying me the $300.
Ooh. How is she going to get $300?
That's not going to be a problem because I think she will stick with this, but that's going to be the new policy moving forward. If we're taking a gamble on something and you quit it for no good reason other than to quit or want to quit, you're going to pay for it.
I have a rule with my son. I said, he likes to swim. He doesn't love it. I've said before, he likes swimming. He doesn't love racing. So, take that for what it is. I said, you don't have to do swim, but you got to do something. You can't just come home and sit.
Yeah.
You have to be involved in something. So if you don't want to do swim, pick something else. And he's unable to pick anything. So he keeps doing swim. And I've always said, hey, you're going to high school next year. Hopefully you'll be on the swim team. If not, they've got the robotics team. They've got all these other things that he can do. And then he's just kind of like, okay, maybe I'll figure it out. So he's
you figure something out, boy.
That's right.
We'll whoop you.
Before he outgrows me.
Guitarist says you should cut out the Simon interview and just release the fluff.
That would be kind of just the fluff.
I don't think
it's picture just Terry and I
don't think that would go over quite as hot. Yeah, probably not. All right, Johnny, you ready for the giveaway? I think we can get at that.
I am ready for the giveaway.
Let's get to that. Let's get to the giveaway. It might be random, but 1 week will be the Force. The other week will be, I think this was a Heat. I'll bring the Heat. And, we'll be giving these away.
All right, Terry Miller. Let's get this up here. All right, so
Johnny V is going to pull up our numbers.
Boom.
I've been out on random.org quite a bit these last couple days. Lots of people picking up some my disc in a box shipping mailers, which I often provide out there on the Facebook group, Disc Golf Donations, which is really Disc Golf Raffles.
They've renamed it. It's now Disc Golf Donations.
It's been that for quite some time, actually, because you're drawing a little extra attention. That's like having a license plate, vanity license plate that says like "I speed" on it. I mean, you're kind of drawing attention to yourself.
Because it was called something else a while ago.
I mean, there's disc golf waffles.
That's what I thought.
Waffles is a big word instead of raffles, but it's been disc golf donations for a while, and people have been, people just love the opportunity to possibly win something at a wildly discounted.
A great
chance.
Dopamine hit.
Yes, exactly.
151 people are eligible for our giveaway this week. Patreon.com/SmashboxTV. You can sign up, become a patron of the show. It's the only way we support the show. Please sign up. We would love you more.
Yes.
It's only a minimum of $1 a month, and you get no ads, which we've been putting ads in. You get your option or your opportunity at a drawing every week, and you know what? If you go up in levels, you get more things, more benefits.
You get that.
You get access to a private part of the Discord. Anyone can join the Discord, but you get a private channel.
Wow!
If there's something in there, I jump.
Should I go in there for the privates?
Nope. Don't show your privates in there.
Okay. No promises.
151 people are eligible for this giveaway, Terry Miller. What are we going to draw? What number?
Let's go with the second one.
Second one. Our first number we generate, they're sorted by first names.
I like that.
68.
Oh, it's definitely going to be lower.
Oh, you're going lower on 68.
68 and I owe you one? I don't know.
You're not one
No.
higher?
No, lower.
All right.
Lower.
And
32,
our second
32.
number is 70.
68, I owe
It
you
was
two.
too higher.
Damn it.
Oh, man. Terry Miller.
Random.org getting feisty tonight.
Better than it getting spicy.
Mm-hmm.
So let me pull up number 70. So that is that's someone who starts with a J.
All right, I like it.
Jeremy Davis.
Heck yeah.
Jeremy Davis. Congratulations. He's a $3 Patreon supporter. So congratulations, Jeremy. We will reach out to you at your Yahoo email address.
Mm-hmm.
I won't give anyone more than that. Just a Yahoo.
You're a Yahoo.
No judgments because you still have a Yahoo email address.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of judgment.
You jerk face.
I don't care. As long as you got two-factor authentication on it, I don't care.
Yeah,
Jeremy.
we appreciate it very
Thank you,
much,
Jeremy.
Also out in the chat, a little bit of conversation going on about me being at the European Open. And as of now, if I understand the spreadsheet, which I never claimed to be smarts, if I understand the spreadsheet correctly, I will, in fact, be at the PCS Sula. It's not PCS Sula. Yeah, it's the PCS Open. I will be at that in Norway, and then the following week is, in fact, the European Open in Finland. So as of now, I am scheduled to be at both of those events on site. Originally, I wasn't going to be. However, I think I mentioned this earlier with Nate and Val and that whole pregnancy thing. Actually, that's right around the time in which they're due. So that means they're not going to be hosting the show, which then meant with me not being a host, I'd be an on-site person. And so, yeah, I will be, my plan, and I believe the DGPT's plan, knock on wood, I don't get fired or let go by then, is that I would be both in Norway and Finland. So that is the plan. And we all know that what matters most in that entire conversation is Smash. I will find a few bags of Smash, the delicious bugle-like chip that's covered in chocolate that is referred to as Smash, and it's damn good. So yes, I will be there.
I won't be involved.
Thank God. I mean, that's too bad.
It's very sad.
We're sad. Everyone's sad here.
Bummer. Oh, well.
Anyway, do we have anything else that's of conversation?
Not that I can think of. I would say, I wouldn't call this a tip or anything, but a pick. We don't do picks very often.
No, we don't.
But there is a podcast that just released season 3 called World's Greatest Con. If you want to go out there, if you're a podcast listener, it's like I said, it's the 3rd season. The first season was all about this Project Mincemeat. You can go out on Netflix and look at the movie, but they did a whole detailed podcast about this World War II, trying to trick Hitler and all this other thing, dead bodies, whatnot. Season 2 was all these different. I think you'd really love season 2, Terry. It's a bunch of different stories about people trying to con game shows, like game shows from when we were kids, 80s and 70s, 80s, and 90s.
No whammies, no whammies, no whammies.
That one, it was a big one, actually.
Okay.
And so just what happened to these people and where they're at and what they did. And this season is back to a full, long story about something called Project Alpha, which was in the late 70s and early 80s, about these 2 kids who had basically the government and other people convinced that they were psychics. And it's a full story that involves them. It's called the podcast called World's Greatest Con. Go out there, sub to it, listen to it. The first 2 episodes are out. I think they're going to release an episode a week for the next, I think, 5 to 6 weeks. So it's first episodes are pretty damn good.
Okay. So download that today. Where can they find that?
That's on any podcasting app.
Wow.
You just search for World's Greatest Con.
And what if somebody wanted to download or find the Smashbox TV podcast? What are their options?
Well, any podcasting app.
Okay. You
can go to YouTube, where we're broadcasting live. Patreon. You have a private RSS feed if you're a Patreon supporter, which you get with no ads, as we
No
said.
ads,
And you get it
free.
And you get it tonight. You don't have to wait until half tomorrow, half Friday. We just give it to you all right away. So those are basically the places.
Okay. I like it. Well, I think that's about all that we have for tonight. We're gonna keep it a little under 3 hours, even with a great conversation with Simon. But I think that is really everything. Congratulations, Kristen Tatar, of course, at Music City Open. Congratulations to our guest tonight, our champion in Simon Lizotte. Congrats to all the teams and individuals and teams that performed well and had a good time. I think everybody that had a chance to go to be part of the college scene. It's just absolutely awesome because that just 10 or 12 years ago or whenever it was, I know back when we were in college, clearly not a real consideration or conversation piece at all. So the fact that it's grown into what it is speaks volumes about that, not only the scene, but all of the organizers and the dedicated humans that are making all of that happen to provide those truly unforgettable experiences in playing disc golf in other parts of the country. It's awesome. So with that, we're going to call it. This has been Smashbox TV Podcast 450's After Show. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, and we'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.